Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday. It is Thanksgiving Eve, one of the biggest party nights of the year. So if you guys are spending it with my show tonight, I really, really appreciate it. Of course, we have an awesome show for you guys if you've been following along today. I'm stoked. Some of the coolest guys around are going to be on the show tonight. But let's start off with some sponsors. As per the usual, we got Toplobsta.com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend and partner on Break the Cycle, where you can get this great Epstein Didn't Kill Himself hoodie that you see me wearing tonight by using BTC at checkout for a 10% discount. Or you can join the Patreon, subscribe star, or become a member of the YouTube channel under all of my videos by hitting the join link, where you can get into a private Discord server and get all of his new stuff up to 2 weeks before it goes to the general public at like a 30% discount. So big time discount, man. Good stuff. Guys, and of course, executive producers of the show, anthemplanning.com. I'm so excited for tonight's show that I'm going fast, but executive producers of the show, anthemplanning.com, for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out today. See what they can do for your business, home, or personal life. They're doing a wonderful job that the government has historically sucked at, much cheaper and much more efficiently. Seriously, guys, if you own a business, go check them out. It's worth it. They're already doing some work with some of my listeners. I promise you guys will be happy with their work. We got audio. We got lots of guests waiting in the background. I told you guys that we are going to have a Thanksgiving Eve extravaganza. I hit up some of my favorite people, and here they are. Of course, we have my good friend and partner on the show, Toplobsta. Man, what's going on, brother?
How you doing, Josh? It's good to be here again. I think we're setting a record, right? Am I the only guest to be on twice in a week?
Yes, I believe so. Hell
yeah.
And of course,
we have to defend that record.
Yeah, and of course, my good friend, host of Dave vs. Goliath, Mr. Dave Casey. Sir, how are you?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me. This is a huge treat. I'm honored and humbled. Thanks, man.
Stoked to have you, man. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the man that destroyed Bill Crystal recently, Mr. Scott Horton. Sir, how are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good, man.
And of course, our good friend from Liberty Lockdown, the madman, Clint Russell. Sir, how are you?
I'm good. Just bring a little diversity to the screen. I saw all these white people. I was like, we got to get some blackness in this motherfucker.
Yeah, dude, we had to get some blackness for sure, brother. And of course, the host of
adjust the contrast on this TV.
Hey, buddy, yeah, you're looking a little white today, dude. Of course, the host of Natural Capitalist and everybody's second favorite trucker, Mr. Reed Coverdale.
Yeah, even if I'm second favorite, I'm glad you're having me and the second best Liberty truck driver on at the same time. Very nice.
The host of One American Podcast and somebody who's become one of my very good friends quickly over the last year, Mr. Chase Geiser. Sir, how are you?
Hey guys, hey Lobster, these eyes look blue to you? check the re-edit. It's brown. I fixed it for you.
With you, man.
The re-edit does not have blue eyes, buddy. And last but not least for now, my very good friend and the host of the System Is Down podcast, Mr. Dan Smott. Sir, how are you?
What the fuck? I was told Dave Smith was going to be here, and he's still blocking me. I hit him up at PorkFest and said, "Come on my show," and he said, "Yeah, call me a Nazi on camera," and I will. So I called him a Nazi there, and now he won't respond to any of my emails. So I'm here to call out the coward. That's it. Also, thanks for having me, Josh.
Yeah, of course,
man. Thanksgiving, everyone.
Of course, I'm happy to have you on. But let's talk about Dave. Dave, you have to message Dave on Twitter and then wait 6 months. Then he'll get back to you. That's how it works. It just is.
He gave me what he said was his personal email address. I hit that up and got no response there either. So.
Well, nice. Maybe you'll see him on the show.
Look how many people here are waiting for him to do guest appearances. I mean, can you blame the guy? He's got so many people with their hands up.
Everybody.
I've just been calling him a coward on Twitter, and he doesn't respond to any of it. And I'm sure he's not seeing any of it. I just like the idea of me being some troll that's like, yeah, this guy's scared of me. Dave Smith is scared of me.
Oh, my goodness. First off, I want to shout out Ben Hackman and Anthony A. Thanks for becoming supporters of the show. I appreciate you guys. Claire Foster dropped a $5 super chat. If you're familiar with Claire Foster, it's my favorite troll on Twitter.
Brilliant.
She said you should rename this episode The War on Sunscreen. I like it. I'm a fan. So guys, a lot has been going on, man. We got the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, the Ahmaud Arbery verdict recently. Obviously, that's a lot to talk about. I do want to start off talking about. I posted on Twitter today that the same people who were chastising the verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse case that said that basically he should have let them chase him down and kill him, are now applauding the verdict in the Ahmaud Arbery case, where some men chased down Ahmaud Arbery and killed him. I mean, what do you guys take on that? I mean, is it just the media misinformation, or do you think some of these people are actually evil? We'll start with Scott. What do you think, Scott?
Well, I don't know, man. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, just in the sense that none of them really know the facts of what they're talking about on most things, even if it's something I agree with them on. It's probably just a mistake, So if the left is, in agreement with me about this Ahmaud Arbery case, then they may have different reasons than I do. I would note that it seems like very few right-wingers and no libertarians that I've seen have been supporting the defendants in the Ahmaud Arbery case. I forgot all their names, but the leftists reacted like the right-wing support or libertarian and right support for Rittenhouse was based on the fact of right-wing white supremacy and all of this. When no, really, it was just self-defense. The guy cornered him, and then so that's what happens, But in this case, in fact, I had a little Twitter thread where I pointed out that you don't see right-wing attention left-wingers. You don't see right-wingers and libertarians rallying around these guys. And the answer is simple. It's because they were pretty clearly the aggressors. And so it is a black and white issue, but not a racial issue. It's self-defense or not. Who's the aggressor or who's not? And I only had one right-winger say, "Shut up, boy. You don't speak for me. Those guys are heroes, and screw that Arbery guy." Right? I had one person answer that way. In other words, proving my case that nobody's taken their side because they clearly had no right to initiate aggression the way that they did against this guy running through their neighborhood. Whereas the Kyle Rittenhouse story was just totally a different story.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's a black and white issue, but it's not a black and white issue. If you catch our drift. Yep. Yeah, man, it's absolutely crazy. I don't know who on this live stream followed that case closely. Did any of you guys watch it really closely?
I didn't watch it closely, but I was paying attention to it. And I think it's obvious that white supremacy has taken over this country when a white guy shoots three other white guys, and it's obvious self-defense, and then, three white guys hunt down a black guy, and they end up getting convicted. I think that proves that white supremacy just rules our country. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, totally, dude. Yeah, it's 100% white supremacy issue. But, I'm not a big fan of the justice system. I know Scott just had a really good talk about this on Fox about, reforming the criminal justice system and, a lot of the things that we could get rid of, the 5 million laws on the books, man. Let's go. Listen, it's almost Thanksgiving. We can go around and say what we're thankful for, or we can go around and say what's the worst part of the criminal justice system in America. What do you think, Top?
Oh, putting me on the spot. What am I thankful for?
Yeah. No, not what you're thankful for. What part of the criminal justice system do you think is the worst?
Well, I mean, the easy answer would probably be the war on drugs, but the more complicated answer would be like that we have a federal system that you go through all this kind of licensing and there's testing and stuff, but you still have people like Reed Coverdale with a license on the road. It's very dangerous, and I'm thinking about it, like what comes to mind is the thing that just happened in Wisconsin. Yeah, so that was completely an accident. That guy just ran over like 100 and something people, but we have people like Reed Coverdale on just driving around like all willy-nilly. So I mean, who's to really say what's going on? And it's just a complete sham, this federal system.
Oh my goodness!
Not just that, but he's driving and live streaming. I mean, get this menace off the road.
He's driving from the wrong seat.
Yeah, he's in the passenger seat for sure. Dave Casey, what's the worst part about the American criminal justice system?
Well, I know I'm on your show, Josh, so I would say family court.
Nice.
That's the one.
Dude,
bro. I've seen so many people just destroyed, depleted. The court wins every single time. Both sides, and it's just this machine that just feeds itself by destroying families. I don't know. Yeah, he dropped the drug war, so that's probably the next one I could think of.
Yeah, the fathers get chewed up and spit out there. Man.
Oh my God.
Oh, I know all about it, buddy. I've been through it twice. Scott, what's your least favorite part about the U.S. criminal justice system?
Well, I just want to second what homie just said about the family court system. Is my cousin's going through that stuff right now, and it's just so absolutely unfair. But I guess I would have to narrow it down to immunity for the cops, the prosecutors, and the judges. You know, I just interviewed this lady who did a series for the Philadelphia Inquirer about all of the just horrible detectives and DAs who just railroaded people for generations, like from the 1970s through a couple of years ago. They were just railroading whoever they felt like, intimidating people to get, you know, false testimony and jailhouse snitches and all the worst of it. It was a huge series. And then, but I kind of criticized her a little at the end. And I said, I noticed that you don't have a part on the judges. It somehow just sort of goes without saying that these guys all have total immunity forever, no matter what decision they make on that bench. They could never, ever, ever, ever be held responsible for it, unless you like had them on tape directly taking a stack of $100 bills from an Arab to change his ruling or something in the most blatant way. They have total immunity. So you got judges who sit and watch a generation of innocent men go to prison, and no one even thinks to hold them responsible. Right. So that to me is the thing that really gets me, is the prosecutors and the judges not even. And then think of it, though. Like if an innocent person got out and that meant that the DA and the judge had to like be reviewed and maybe get in trouble for an innocent person being convicted by them, that then no innocent people would ever get out. Right. They would just stop all appeals. They would make it impossible to prove your innocence anymore if there was ever to be accountability for these people at all. So that's pick your poison. You want no good appeals, no ability for people to get out, or would you like to try to have some accountability for the people in charge of railroading the innocent? And I think that's the worst part, man.
Sure. Reed Coverdale, your least favorite part about the U.S. criminal justice system. Don't say Israel challenge.
Please, civil asset. Sure, honestly, I know that's something that we say we shouldn't be obsessing over, which is true. There's other things going on, but you know, red flag laws, seizure of property without actually, accusing somebody of a crime. I think that's really screwed up. I mean, you know, you see Toplobsta, he's a little skinny Puerto Rican guy. Yeah, he probably came here illegally and stole the car he's driving, but that doesn't mean you can just take it from him without proving that. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's right. I agree completely. I wanted to touch on something Scott said, because he kind of reminded me. A more serious answer would have been bail reform for me, and it just drives me crazy, like the prices that they set. I know that Lynn Wood kind of held this over Kyle Rittenhouse's head, where he was in jail for like 3 months because his bail was like $1 million, and they were fundraising and then exploiting him and using him as a political tool. But
yeah, Lynn told him to sit in jail. We talked about that last night. Yeah.
But something more interesting that came up with the truck driver in Wisconsin. I forget the name of whatever. That guy was let out of jail early on some kind of new progressive policy where they were just foregoing bail.
Right.
And this guy has skipped on bail before. So I really don't know what to think. Things are just really, it's really messed up, really weird out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Clint.
Well, look, I mean, on the bail reform thing, I think the idea obviously was bail reform for everybody except those who were, you know, accused of especially multiple violent felonies. Nobody was saying let's have bail reform for them. It was, you know, people who, and even like the Rittenhouse thing, it's not like he was a career criminal or had any history. Whereas this guy with the truck attack had a huge rap sheet of violent felonies. And he gets accused of running over his old lady with the car, which is attempted murder. And then they let him out on $1,000 bail. And then they go, see, bail reform is stupid and commie and left wing and dumb. But it's like, yeah, no, there are people who are accused of nothing, or people who are accused of a one-off type crime who can't afford to even get out before their trial, which might be a year or something like that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, the whole thing is screwed up. And leave it to the goddamn progressives to do that. Like, okay, our first priority is we want to let all the armed robbers and multiple violent felons, you know, like with the COVID releases. We're doing COVID releases. Anyone here would have said, okay, we're going to release everybody except the violent felons, you know?
Right.
And they're like, no, the violent felons get to go just the same as the shoplifters.
They go
whatever,
first.
You know?
Yeah, hey, in California, the violent gets to go first, man. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, the Paleo Connor, the I don't know, whatever this new libertarian fringe argument would be, that this is the peril of allying ourselves with the left wing, is that oftentimes, even if we get what we want, they do it in the worst possible way, and it makes our ideas look stupid, which is what happened with bail reform. I'm going to pivot on this, and instead of saying what I hate most about the police or justice system is that in honor of Thanksgiving, I'm going to say I'm thankful for them, because I think that they are the most brazen, aggressive, obvious demonstration of the evils of the state. And I think that we've all got to witness it, especially with social media. It has waken a ton of people up, and for that, I'm grateful. I think that as bad as it is, there is some silver lining in how obviously fucked up they are.
Right. Right, absolutely. It's really been good for us for the last 2 years. How many people are getting red pilled on all kinds of things, Mr.
Yep.
Chase Geyser, sir, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I can't complain, man. Why don't you tell us? Listen, you're somebody who was in the Republican Party, right? And kind of recently I've been seeing a lot of posts from you that are like, you know what? Fuck both these parties. And you know, I enjoy that. But
yeah,
I mean,
when people call me a racist and a Republican on Twitter, I say, don't you dare call me a Republican.
yeah. So I mean, what's the worst part of the U.S. criminal justice system? I mean, we're watching a lot. We got America watching a lot of trials right now, probably for the first time ever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's really an interesting subject right now. But I mean, what do you think, man? What's your least favorite part?
I would say the incentive for the prosecution to win, regardless of whether or not they believe that defendants are guilty,
Sure.
is probably a number one problem. I, for a long time, have thought this could be naive or misguided, but I've thought for a long time that it would be awesome if we paid public defenders fat bonuses for winning cases, and prosecution got had no additional incentive to win. I think Dave Smith is blowing up the chat, by the way. I think he's ready to come in.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
So
He says, let me in, bitch.
Look, there he is.
How dare you, ingrates?
A lot of times.
Holy shit. What's up, Dave? How
Have
you
me
doing, buddy?
here.
What's up, Dave?
Up my inbox, I respond.
Oh, hey. What's going on? Chase Rachel's. It's nice to finally never had the pleasure.
That
We're
was
going
not
around
long
I love
enough.
that book.
Everyone's
Incredible.
saying their favorite white racial slur, Dave. So you're up.
Favorite white racial slur. Oh, that's fuck. I'm gonna need a second for that. The favorite white racial slur.
Man, come on,
You know-
obviously Peckerwood.
Peckerwood's all right. It's all right.
I'm a big
It's
fan
not-
of Chalkroach.
I don't like it.
Honky.
I like fucking
Honky's a classic.
blown out.
What do they call Reed?
Mayo monkey.
Yeah, Mayo Monkey's a
Mayo
good one.
Monkey might be the best one. That's
like-
a good one.
I like the yogurt Yeti and the Chalkroach are my two favorites.
Well, I literally,
God.
by the way, when I came in for a second, this is the one thing I saw when I first came in and was like backstage before you let me in, was you just go with this many people on a stream, and already I'm like, holy shit. And then you go, Josh hosting it goes, hey Clint, so what do you think about that? And Scott goes, all right, one more thing. And I was like, oh man, dude, you can't have this many people and Horton on a podcast together. Like, you can either have Horton is this many people on his own on a show.
Hey, I didn't ask Ryan Dawson to be on. You know what I mean? That would have just been the Ryan Dawson, Scott Horton, and Dave Smith show. It really would have been. That's it.
I would love to talk to Ryan, but I have weather to control. So I can't spend all day.
Can't do it all.
Busy stacking gold coins.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dave, we're going around. Instead of saying what we're thankful for, we're talking about what we think is the worst part of the U.S. criminal justice system. Because
that's the most libertarian thing ever.
yeah, well,
That's what I
was going to say.
on this Thanksgiving? What do I want to abolish?
Libertarian Thanksgiving.
yeah, well, it's because look, there's a lot of people watching trials for the first time ever in their entire life this last month. You know, between Kyle Rittenhouse, now people trying to follow. You got to call in and listen to the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. They're not airing it on TV. Obviously, Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, there's a lot going on. Very, very crazy stuff, man. But
Yeah.
what do you think? What's your least favorite part of the U.S. criminal justice system?
Okay, well, first I'll say I haven't managed to catch any of those trials because I've been with Christopher Cantwell in his trial this whole time, just trying to catch his bag just for moral support reasons. Wanted to be there. Although I will say that is the one that no one wants to touch, which is, it's so funny because like libertarians can, and I know I'll catch nothing but shit for this, but I don't care. But we could say like, oh, Obama can't just drone bomb murder Anwar al-Awlaki without any charges or anything, because that's an American citizen.
Sure.
And this was a guy who like legitimately joined up with Al-Qaeda and swore allegiance to them, but we could still stand on principles and be like, well, no, they get he has a right to be charged and have a trial and all of this shit. But like there is something pretty creepy about that verdict. And even if it was neo-Nazis who got it, it's like, all right, like you just, they're on the hook now because violence broke out at this rally. And anyway, just touching on that, because that'll lead into the worst part of the criminal justice system, is that, the people most responsible at Charlottesville for the violence were, it's like everyone looks at Charlottesville like there were these two groups. There was like the neo-Nazis and there was the Antifa people. But really, there were three groups. There was the alt-right, the Antifa people, and the cops. Right. The people with a violent enforced monopoly on security. And they led the alt-right people right into the Antifa people, like the dumbest thing ever, and kind of in many ways created all the violence. And of course they get off for it, yet like they'll never face any responsibility for it or liability. And yet like $25 million is off to, So anyway, I guess libertarians it's like, I don't know, are we the people who go like, well, they have really fucked up views and it's very unfashionable to defend them, so it's okay that they're responsible for violence at their event? Or are we the people who would be like, oh, look, I don't care how evil, I don't care if it's a communist group or a fascist group or whatever, you still kind of have this free speech thing, and the only person responsible for that, murder there is the person who murdered that girl and or whatever that he was convicted of murder. Anyway, the point is, forget laws, because that's not really exactly what you're asking. Like, the worst part of the criminal justice system is that the state has complete immunity, always.
Right.
And what was it in the Breonna Taylor case? What was it last month? I think
they said that, Dave.
Oh shit! Of course. Don't go to Scott before me, because then my thing just sounds regurgitated.
No, it's good. It's good. You guys say it in different ways.
And tell me if I'm right about this, Scott, because you'll know this. But didn't they officially rule that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend acted in self-defense or whatever,
they did,
or that he couldn't? Right. So they basically said that, yeah, this guy, his claim was that he thought people were fucking breaking into his house in the middle of the night, and he started shooting at them.
If I have it right, Dave, I think you're conflating two different cases. I think you're talking about coffee.
Oh, yeah,
coffee. No. I'm talking about.
Week.
No, I'm not the one that just happened. I'm talking about it was like over a month ago. I think Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, they found that they couldn't charge him.
Yeah, I guess
shooting
that's right.
at cops.
They just dropped the charges. I don't think he went to trial.
Maybe that's it. Or whatever. They dropped the charges. But even that, it's like, okay, so then what's the situation there? Then the situation is the obvious aggressors were the cops. And they'll be, and no one would even fathom that these cops would be charged criminally but clearly they're the aggressors. I mean, if any of us did some shit like that, it'd be like, yeah, you're gonna fry and no one's gonna feel bad for you ever, and you'd be responsible for murder, for killing this girl, and then a bunch of other charges, and so that's the worst part about it, is that it's like you already started off with this two-tiered system. And it's like what the other thing is, like what Rothbard wrote about in For a New Liberty, that the idea that that you're not innocent until proven guilty in this system. There's this Rikers Island, there's like this whole fucking prison of fucking people who haven't been convicted of anything. Those people are innocent, and either we believe that or we don't. And I'll say the last final thing I'll say, right, in that Rothbard essay, that's the most controversial amongst libertarians thing that he ever wrote, the paleo strategy or whatever. And he says, unleash the cops. And everyone always focuses on that line, but the very next words after that are what? Subject, of course, to liability if they're found to be wrong. So feel however you feel about that sentence. I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but from a libertarian perspective, that second part that gets left off is very important, right? Like that's a really big deal to say, yeah, okay, you could have whatever policy you want, but the market or the best simulated market for the government response is that, no, if it's found that you're not right about this, then you're on the hook. And that's the part of the criminal justice system that doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah. And look, I think probably the best news this week was that or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, the original DA in the Ahmaud Arbery case was indicted for obstruction of justice.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a case that's straight out of the bad old days, right?
That's so
These
rare.
3 white guys hunt down this black guy and confront him on some bogus citizen's arrest where they're in no position to initiate this aggression the way that they do. He tries to defend himself. They kill him dead. But they used to work for, one of them was a former cop. The father was a former cop, I think. And the neighbor had used to work as an investigator of some kind for the DA. She came out and told the cops, don't arrest him. We're not charging him. We're letting them get away. And it was good old boy shit kicked right in.
Yep.
And they were getting away with this for a month or 6 weeks or something until the video came out. And somebody, I don't know if it leaked or if they, turned it over to the newspaper of the video that the neighbor took of him and his friends hunting and killing this guy.
Right.
At that point, it turned into a big scandal. And, I understand there's a lot of reason to be mad at the left these days. But this is not a right-wing movement that now has made it where these white guys and this prosecutor lady are not going to be able to get away with just either ignoring the charges or impaneling an all-white jury and putting a rubber stamp and letting them get away with it, which is the history of this country, going back for hundreds of years, the way it has been. And then you look at what happened in this case is they tried that. They went with that, but no, it was canceled. And, by outrage on the left, essentially saying there's no way you're going to get away with this. And now, it's possible she's going to get at least a slap on the wrist. I mean, she's been indicted on a couple of different charges for this. So, that guy would have not gotten justice if it hadn't been for the video, really, right? And for the politics of the current era, that there's got to be a line you can't cross, Yeah,
no, you're right. But the weird thing about the political dynamics today, right, is that so it went from the history of being we will use this heavy, brutal, no justice tactics on black people. They have no rights and we can do whatever we want to them. And then it transformed into all right, we'll be colorblind about it and just do it to all poor people.
Right.
We'll just fuck over all poor people the way we used to fuck over black people. And then the left decided we will defend the black people who are fucked over.
Right. But not everybody.
So you're in this situation where you're the left, if that was some white guy in the same situation, the left would have no interest in it. It would just be whatever. No, who cares? There's no narrative to spin here. So it's so easy to be reactionary against either side of that, right? Did you? I'm sorry, I didn't even say hi to you, and I just saw you in the chat say you have to go. Something I said?
No, Reed could only do a little while anyways. He's driving, man.
Reed's driving with a Nokia phone on his face right now.
Except for Toplobsta. I love the rest of you.
Oh, damn, dude. We love you too, Reed.
Happy
Thanksgiving, buddy.
Keep Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving, brother.
All right, let's
Tell your mom I said hi.
Quick silver lining. Also, I think in both of these cases, both Arbery and Rittenhouse, if it's not for the technocracy, technology that's ever present, which libertarians often fearmonger about, I think both of these guys end up in the opposite position where Arbery's murders get away and Rittenhouse is sent to prison for the rest of his life, if not worse. So
yeah,
I think there is there.
And you could say, just to Scott's point, right? You could see how all of the these are, at least for me, I don't know as much about the I followed the Rittenhouse case partly because that was televised. From what I know, both these verdicts were correct from what I've followed.
Yeah.
Hey,
but
Josh, put them on full screen so I can hit this thing.
Oh, hold on. Wait, Scott. Wait, I'm hitting my own.
To smoke weed with. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm hitting my own. But hey, okay, listen. So we're gonna go to Dan because Dan is the odd man out here.
Sorry.
My good conspiracy theorist friend. He's the last guy to give us his gripe about the U.S. Criminal justice system. What do you think, Dan?
First off, you saved me for last after Scott Horton and Dave Smith and everybody else, which is just lovely of you. So an hour later, I get to answer with my statement.
You've had the most time to think about it.
Who cares? It's Thanksgiving, Josh. Stop being so autistic and asking autistic questions. I would say maybe, I don't know, such a weird question. What is your least favorite thing? The whole thing is pretty fucked, but I would say maybe just to throw out something different, and expanding on this a bit, how the rules are made up and the points don't matter, basically, or how this I don't like being above the law if you are of a certain demographic or a certain financial bracket, and the same stuff that applies to cops that applies to them as well. Clearly, like the stuff that we're seeing in the White House currently, it's like if any of us did anything even remotely close to what any of these people did, we'd all be arrested for it. Like they're pushing this race war on us when it's a class war, and it's so obvious that Hillary Clinton's not being constantly indicted or locked up a long time ago.
Right.
I don't know. The rules made up and the points don't matter.
All of it. Fucking
final
yeah,
answer.
just fucking all.
Also,
of it.
Dave Smith, Porkfest. You said if I called you a Nazi, you'd come on my show. You gave me
That's
your
right.
email address. You never responded, and now I'm calling you a coward.
Buddy, listen, I said I'd come on your show, and I will come on your show.
Uh-oh.
And I
That's
will
this
get-
recorded.
like-
I will
buddy.
get
Is
back
this
to
like
that
a Jesus
email
is coming soon
any-
type thing?
Yeah,
Any
that's
day
right.
now?
You gotta have faith, brother. You gotta believe.
He said this.
I
He said
wore
this
your- I
before
wore
we.
your face.
He said this
I wore your
before we
face.
started the show. He said this, Dave, and I said, no, don't worry. What you do is you send him a Twitter message, and then you wait 6 months. That's how it works.
Dude,
And then
listen,
you get it.
pray harder.
Listen,
Plant that seed.
you give me a date and a time right now, and I will be there.
Right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. What happened? Did you give me one? Shut up.
Oh, he disconnected.
I'm sorry. It's choppy. It's choppy in my ear. I got.
It's my
I'm
connection.
on a hot spot. So I don't know if,
Dan does have one of the coolest shows out there. He's just super shadow banned on like
I
every
would-
platform.
It's true.
I
I'm
would
not
be
quite Ryan
down to do your
Dawson
show.
levels.
I watched your show the other day. I watched your show when you had
nice.
those guys from Delaware on,
Mm.
which was that was a real good episode. Holy shit, that was
Are you-
incredible.
Are you talking about the when Dave and Bill and what's
no,
her face?
not the
Or
one with Dave.
the good
No,
one.
No, not an insult to Dave, but just to hear those guys defend themselves,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
if that's what you would call it.
Could
you
it
know,
have
Thanks,
been?
man.
Could it have been
Everything
any? Could it have been any worse than that interview, man? I mean, it was.
I
Like,
was like, I'm not sure which side you guys are arguing for. Like, dude, this
I've said multiple times. Those guys showed up. Like I gave a call out and they accepted. So I was like, well, I have to have him on. I didn't expect him to show up like 3 foot deep, holding a shovel in hand. Like, let's get this, buddy. Here we go.
It honestly reminded me of
Amazing.
Archie's debate with Dave. He just comes on, he concedes everything, and he's just like,
are corrupt.
I had to do what I had
Next
to do.
question.
I had more respect for the response to the New Hampshire thing than that one. Like those
Right.
guys, like you would just be like, but doesn't it seem pretty wrong what you're doing? And they're like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it
Yeah,
is.
totally unethical.
I mean, it's completely
It's like
wrong.
Gage Grosskreutz.
Like, yeah, I mean, like horrifically wrong. I'd shoot a man for doing this to me. But, you know, we gotta-
And then they go on they who shall not be named go on their podcast and they don't challenge them on anything, and they're just like they said at one point he said, I think it was pretty shady. Basically, this is not verbatim, but I think it was pretty shady. But I believe pretty strongly that if we hadn't done it, the Mises Caucus would have. So we just beat
Yeah.
them to it.
yeah, it was.
This
The,
is
they're
the
like,
Bush
yeah, I fell
doctrine.
down.
That makes sense.
That's
Yeah.
what that is.
it was the Bush doctrine.
Preemptive strikes.
100%.
yeah.
So
You got to strike first, man. Strike
Yeah.
first, strike hard.
You know,
be corrupt first. so
we
you can
got
blame
to
everybody
fight him
else
over
for it.
there so we can be free over here, buddy. You know,
That's right.
That's how it works. Scott, I see Scott's just like drooling, like
Libertarians.
he's like seizing, freaking out. He's like,
That's when
fucking
you said
Bush.
W. Bush, and I started thinking about things. But anyway, go ahead.
Thinking
I
about
never,
political
realized,
stuff that
I never
matters.
realized that the Bush doctrine and the Karate Kid defense are the same thing. Like hard, strike fast.
No can defend.
Oh
That's
my
the
God.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai,
doctrine.
excuse me. Thank you.
Don't start putting this shit on Miyagi Do.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah.
Nothing wrong.
Listen, Cobra.
It's that good energy.
The Cobra Kai were actually the good guys in that movie. So I agree with that.
There's a lot of evidence of that when you look back at it
Yeah.
objectively. But you know, I was a Daniel guy. I was just like, he
'Cause you're
I
from
kind
New
of
York.
looked like
That's
him,
why.
and he was like skinny and shit and getting bullied. And I was like, when I was watching it, I was like 6, and I was getting bullied and skinny. And I was like, man, that'd be so awesome if there was some old Okinawan guy who taught me how to kick everybody's ass in my building. But there never was. There was just a Mexican janitor, and he
Is it-
couldn't fight for shit.
He's
I wish
like-
I was Asian. You can't have a Jewish ninja.
You just start waxing cars outside of a spa.
Oh,
Yeah, I did it. Turns out I waxed 5,000 cars and still got my ass kicked that day. Turns out that doesn't help you fight at all.
See, that's the difference.
Nothing.
That's the difference between Dave and myself. Is he's from New York, so of course he sided with Daniel, and I'm from California, so I had to side with the Cobra Kai, man. You know, we're beach kids.
You're like, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
What's your problem?
Yeah, this is exactly how California is. What are you talking about? Clint knows. He's from down there.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, if it makes you guys feel any better, whatever side you were on, Taekwondo, all it created because of Karate Kid was millions of overweight white kids that thought they could defend themselves because they memorized a few of the forms.
You mean
and they just got wrecked.
You talking about yourself?
Now they're Antifa today.
The best part about like early UFC, if you ever watch it, was that there were these guys. So back then, like it started in 1993, and this was the era of like karate dojos and shit.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And there were these guys who came in who really believed their own thing. Like, and they'd be like, look, I have this eagle crane punch, and I've never been allowed to practice it on a man because it will stop your heart. You know, but like I'm gonna go deliver this punch, and then they go in there and they're like, "Huh," and then like there's a boxer, and the boxer just like hits them with a right cross, and they've never been punched in their life.
Folded.
Like, oh,
It's like hitting an eagle crane.
And they're like, or a wrestler just takes them down, and now they're on their back, and they're like, well, I've never tried this before, so I don't know what I do here, and it just all fall apart.
You'd be
for them.
surprised. So I trained at like 5 different MMA gyms, and you'd be surprised how often people walking off the streets like, oh, I was a boxer for years and years and years, or I was this, or I do karate, and they just come in and get smoked, dude. I mean, I'm by like low level blue belts in jiu-jitsu, just destroying these people. I mean, it's not even close, you know what I mean? And it's very common. You can Google this, and there's like video after video of it on YouTube. It's just all over the place, man. It's really great, honestly.
Yeah,
Some of those guys are pretty
videos?
fucked up.
Yeah.
That they'll actually like fight them and stuff, and
yeah.
you're like, dude, come on, you don't really.
No,
have
some
to
of these
prove
guys
this
deserve
point.
it. There's some videos of guys that are they're like dojo masters, and they say they have black belts and whatnot. And then they'll come in with the video crew, and they're like, "You don't have a black belt." They'll challenge them to some jujitsu match and just like break their arm. It's like, you deserve that shit.
Yeah,
that's like that's a little
cash.
different. That's like the stolen valor of MMA. I'm talking just about the guys who are like, look, I've been in 5,000 street fights and I've never lost one, but it's like some fat middle-aged dude. And then they're like, okay, well, here's the UFC bantamweight champion. Do you want to fight him in a cage? And then the guy just like knocks him out. And you're like, Jesus, dude.
My favorite video.
We all know.
There's a video of Nate Diaz when he was like 15 years old, right? They're from where I'm from, the same area. I'm from Antioch, Stockton. It's about 20 minutes away. And, these kids grew up in Stockton. It's bad. It's really fucking bad in Stockton, California. And it's like this 38 to 40-year-old man that like challenged him, and he just wrecks him. I mean, taps him out within like 30 seconds. And Nate's like 15. He's like bleached blonde hair. He's all scrawny and just destroys him. It happens a lot, man. I mean, it really
Gosh,
is.
I'm about to make you really jealous. I got Jake Shields coming on Tuesday.
Oh, that'll be a fun one.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's
cool.
He's got some pretty good takes too. Like I've seen him on he's like retweeted my stuff a few times and shit like that, and then I'll see him and then I'll see some of the stuff he posts, and like he's like I think he's libertarian leaning. John Fitch, Fitch, who's a UFC fighter for a long time, really good one. He's like a libertarian. Ben Askren seems to be like pretty libertarian leaning.
He's very crypto.
He's
really
well. Okay, but that's enough. That'll carry you over.
Dave,
to
I know you're too humble to take this credit, but I would bet a lot of money that these guys, because of all your appearances on Rogan, and you know they don't ever miss an episode of Rogan, I bet you money when I ask these guys who converted them, you're going to be listed.
Yep.
Well, maybe, but Rogan, to be fair and not give me that much credit, Rogan has had, it's not just me. Rogan's had a lot of like, he's had Peter Schiff on a whole bunch of times, and he's had a bunch of other libertarians on the show, or at least like, and also just people. Well, obviously, but but a lot of people who are just like, good in that. Look, Rogan himself was a Ron Paul guy back in the day. And just unfortunately, this is the problem of like, oh God, it's just so infuriating in a way. But like, you think, so Rogan, you guys all remember on the Tonight Show when Rogan came on in a Ron Paul shirt?
Yep.
But back then, he was just the Fear Factor guy.
Right.
He wasn't like what we know as Joe Rogan now. But imagine like the timelines just being a little bit more converged, like when Ron Paul in 2012 couldn't get on, they're blacking him out on CNN, and Jon Stewart's doing that piece about how no one will give him a shot. And at that time, it wasn't like there wasn't that big of a there was really no podcast scene. There was almost no social media scene. There was nothing. But imagine at that time, Joe Rogan has, no exaggeration, 10 times the audience of CNN. And we'll just have Ron Paul on for 3 hours. And that'll go like crazy viral and all these moments. Man. And it just didn't quite
especially
line up.
In 08. He was so good in 08. And especially like the long form interviews. The best interview of Ron was with a New Hampshire newspaper, where he just sat down and talked to them for like an hour and a half. And it's like, dude, this is the best guy in politics in world history ever. Like this, you can't beat this with a stick.
Ron is the reason I'm a libertarian. There's no doubt about it. And 2008 is the reason why I'm a libertarian.
Yeah, me too.
Why did you guys are very. Why did
2008 Ron with Joe Rogan for 3 hours would really be.
What's up? What's up, Chase?
I was saying, why did so many Ron Paul supporters support Bernie Sanders? Like, have you noticed that? Like, among just at the people level, like the same demographic that was all gung ho about Ron Paul in 08 and 2012, when Sanders ran, they were all about Sanders.
Some of them,
because autism cuts both ways.
I'm not asking you guys to that by any means, but
autism cuts both ways. No, here's my take. I'll give you my take on this. I think it's because a lot of people who supported Ron Paul in 08 especially were not libertarians per se, but they saw someone who had been consistently saying the same things in Congress for a long time. And some of those people are independents. And so when they saw somebody like Bernie Sanders, who has been pretty consistent throughout his career saying the same thing in politics, they saw him as an honest person who wanted to do the right thing. And that's just how they, some of the boomers especially, that's just what they think, that these are the right people because they've been saying these things and they seem genuine. So that was always my take on it. I did see some Ron Paul supporters become Bernie supporters in 2016.
I think there's been a populist movement that began under Ron Paul, transferred to Bernie, and then went to Trump. And now we're going to see where it ends up. But
right.
It's an interesting.
A lot of these people, there's to regular people, they don't know about all this left and right stuff. My wife was showing me this thing where it's like, I don't know, all these women. There's one doctor and all these like feminists, and they're talking about feminism and trans issues and vaccines and whatever they're talking about. And the one lady's like, "Listen, I'm a conservative because I'm a socialist." And so I want
sure. She might be the only honest conservative.
There's that, but that's not what she meant. She just didn't know what the fuck she was talking about.
How fast did she drive, Scott?
Like, yeah.
I was going to say, I was talking to Michael Heist today, and he was talking about what Dave was just saying with like, what if Joe Rogan had that moment when Ron Paul, in 2008, if Joe Rogan had that kind of status, and Mike was saying that he's excited about this movement because just yesterday, Tim Pool had on one of these advisors that worked for Trump, and they actually brought up the Mises Caucus right to his face when they were talking about. He was talking about libertarians, and Tim Pool was like, "Let me stop you. The Mises Caucus is the real deal." And I think you guys are a little too close to it because you're talking about what if Ron Paul in 2008, but we have Dave Smith in 2021 right now. And we've got Scott Horton, we've got Tom Woods, and we've got Josh Smith, and we have superstars here, and we're kind of using this beautiful lane, this beautiful lane of the internet that's almost untapped, and you do have that Joe Rogan now. So
that's essentially right the essence of the pitch of why be in the Libertarian Party. And so I was a guy, right? Like I was just a Ron Paul guy and a kid. I mean, I'm
put him on full screen, Josh.
Oh. Well, I was whatever. I'm fucking born in 83. So in 2008, I was 25, right? 24.
Wait, when's your birthday, Dave?
April 20th.
Oh shit, you're literally you're a month younger than me. You're 1 month younger.
If you're a cool left libertarian, you think, oh, the pot smoking, and if you're the uncool left libertarian, you go the same birthday as Hitler.
Yeah.
But so I was like 24. I was young, when I found Ron Paul. And when I was, he converted me and all this stuff. And when he would say, he was like, well, look, all the rules are rigged. So you have to run with the Republicans or the Democrats. Cause I was like, yeah, that's it. There's no point for third parties. I just totally accepted that as a reality.
Right.
But once it got to like around 2016 and I saw what was going on there, and then like 2017 and up to now, you go, well, wait a minute, why exactly do I still have to follow all those old rules and norms when everything's been revolutionized? And now we're in a position where we really don't need to play that game anymore. And so if we can go on the, like, why do I even care about the debate stage or getting on CNN? You know, Glenn Greenwald does a great job. He'll tweet this stuff all the time, where there's like multiple days now in a row where CNN will not have one show that cracks 1 million viewers.
Right.
And like that's and Rogan's putting up like 10 mil on an average episode
For 3-hour episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of getting on for like a cumulative 5 minutes, I could go on for 3 hours and really talk to people and talk to much more than 10 times the audience. 10 times the audience if I get on the biggest show on CNN. You know what I mean? And so at that point you go like, well, but why do I need to pretend to be a Democrat or pretend to be a Republican? And you see this all the time with some of our friends, people that we really like, you know, but who are like liberty Republicans, which I have nothing against, but they're there and they're always kind of like apologizing around the edges.
Right.
And they're just not quite allowed to tell the truth. And like if someone's like, you know, like making a whole bunch of defense of cops, like we always have to support the boys in blues, and I'm like, fuck you. And they're like, oh, come on, Dave, let's like be allies and not that. Like, why can't I just tell the truth?
Right.
Like, why do I have to, like, why should we be in this position of pretending we're Republicans?
Right.
Like, we're not.
No,
We're not
wait,
the
think
same
about
as
it,
you.
guys.
As libertarians, can I please ask you guys a strategy question?
Yeah, because Chase isn't a libertarian, so let's do it. Let's go.
No. I'm close though,
Yeah.
and I'm not one of those like always back to blue guys. I'm probably far closer to libertarian than I am any other official political party. But why doesn't the Libertarian Party put all of its muscle in Texas? Because if you took 5% of the conservative vote just in this state, you could withhold the presidency from any Republican candidate and slap the fucking party around.
True.
Like
True.
just
They're
focus
just
on
not that
Texas.
strategic. I mean, I've talked to the Texas Libertarian Party about things like that, where like when it was Cruz versus Beto,
Yeah.
I said what you should be doing is,
But Dave, just run in Texas, only in Texas.
well, I don't know about that, but at least, you know, extort the Republicans. Like, look, if you guys don't want us to split your fucking vote, then you're going to have to get good on X, Y, and Z, or we're going to fuck you good. That should be the message, but it's not. There's just nothing that coordinated. But those things are changing. I mean, essentially, we got a new generation of people taking over the Libertarian Party who are interested in being creative and doing shit like that.
Yeah.
But look, as far as the
And I hope
media
so.
thing, for everybody, you know, part of this group and everybody watching, think about the same conversation about the alternative media and all that, but now in 2 more years. And we're now, you know, and this is why I've always thought this for a very long time. It's why I tried to support Johnson and Badnarik and whoever in the presidential candidates when they've asked me, Jorgensen even, to advise them over these years, because we want to have the best candidate we can get, because this is when Americans pay attention to politics, is when it's a presidential election every 4 years. And if we want people to even learn the word libertarian and what it means, we got to have a good candidate for president who can spread that message. And if you look at like why Tim Pool is interested in this, like he could sit around and read libertarian stuff. Doesn't seem like that's his interest.
Sure.
But if you tell him, look, man, we got our guy, we're going to run him for president as the Libertarian Party candidate for president. And that's what the argument is going to be about, is who ought to have this power and what they ought to be able to do with it or not, and all of this. That's what catches his attention and his interest. Same for his audience. And then that goes for all of the alternative media stars, right? In 2 years from now, when we have this conversation, poor old Dave is not going to have a moment's rest, dude.
Nope.
He's going to be on, you know, the many of
what?
all of the hugest podcasts everywhere.
Well,
where
dude,
TV is
let
going to
me
be
tell you something.
completely obsolete. And it is going to be an entire phenomenon. And I don't know what the fuck they're going to do about it. Again,
Listen, I'll tell you
Rogan's
this.
got-
If
in
not
2 years-
having a moment's rest is what I'm in for. I am on some serious training right now.
Yeah.
Having a newborn. Let me tell you,
More kids,
Josh.
Dave.
Josh,
But
you have
Rogan's gonna
no
have
idea.
20 million
No-
viewers
listen.
2 years from now, you know?
Well, hold on. I just want to tell Josh, you have no idea the stresses of having 2 children.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I couldn't imagine,
So-
dude. I couldn't imagine. I imagine trying to have 2 infants in the house, bro. That's really, you know, I'm just
Two
saying.
of them.
You know,
Okay, this is Scott.
But
I got two
Well,
infants,
but I
two
think
under
Scott's-
one. Good luck.
I think Scott's right, and you see where this is all going. And but by the way, I think that's the major point, right? That's what like the whole thing is about, and what the project is about. Is that so? I went on Tim Pool's show, I guess, a couple times, and they loved me. All of them loved me. The same as when like I go on all these shows. Like they were like, wow, that's okay. You make some really good points because, of course, as I say before, and this is like what I really hate when some libertarians have this more defeatist attitude, which I understand to some degree. But when you've been around, let's say you've been doing this for 10 years, you've been doing this for 15 years, you've been in this world for a while now, and you're like, God damn, man, we've been doing all this and everything still doesn't work out for us. None of the policy prescriptions we have are followed, and the government gets bigger and bigger, and there's more shit. And holy shit, I thought something was going to happen in 2008 with Ron Paul, and now look at us, we're like in lockdowns, you know, and like and the debt went from like 9 trillion to 30 trillion and all this shit. I understand that, but what I think you get removed from a lot is that if you think about a very serious libertarian person out there presenting these ideas like as an alternative to the establishment, we've done it twice ever.
Right.
Ever. In 2008 and in 2012. That's it. And you could talk Harry Brown, who's just like a fucking legend, but it wasn't really the same thing. He didn't really have a shot at being like in the conversation the way these other guys do. It was just a different time.
He did turn a lot of people libertarian, though, Harry Brown, for sure.
Yes, for if you by the like off chance happen to see him on C-SPAN or something like that, and you were an open-minded person, you'd be like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. But he never really, the reason Ron Paul did that is because he could get in front of a big audience via the Republican debates, because at the time, that was the way to do it. And we're saying now there's these other alternatives to do it. But so someone like Tim Pool or Rogan or Greg Gutfeld or Kennedy or all these other people, you know, it's like you see, they may be like, oh, wow, that's that real shit that you're talking about there. That's not like this other stuff. That's not Gary Johnson. And that's not like, you know, what we've heard from other people. That's like, but as soon as they hear like, oh, even a rumor of a presidential run, then they go, whoa, all these possibilities, which, okay, if we're all just being honest with ourselves, it's silly that that's different, because why is it different than just someone telling them what the truth is? But that's just the way Americans function right now. Like that's the cultural reality that we live in. And so that's why there's value in this. And that's why there's something special about this idea.
Right.
Check out
And
this boomer
here's
who
the goal.
voted for George Bush twice.
Oh,
Look at
geez.
that guy.
Oh, Scott's gonna fight him. Stop it! Don't show Scott.
Give him the Clockwork Orange treatment and fix his brain good. No, but listen. So this is what's going to happen in 2 years, right? Is it's not going to be just a presidential campaign. The point is, I mean, if it works, the point is we are going to dominate the political conversation in the country, because whether it's Biden or Harris, neither of them have a goddamn thing to say. They can't stand on their record. I mean, they got real problems. And I don't know if you guys saw, I mean, you guys know Kamala Harris is probably going to be her, because they can't really replace her on the ticket or anything like that. They've basically got to give it to her. It's her turn for being vice president. And yet she's just absolutely so horrible. And then on the right, I think all presumptions are Trump is going to be the nominee, which means, one, he's going to bring the entire American populace's attention back to politics in a way that it hasn't been for 4 years, right? Everybody's going to start paying attention again for the Trump show. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have anything to say. All he ever does is talk about himself and a bunch of crap. You know, it's just the Trump show. And so then that means it's just a huge opportunity for our guy to, and through the new media, like we're talking about here, to completely dominate the conversation, where they say that the election this year is about this, but no, we say that it's about these things. And then essentially we win. That agenda, at least, not like Dave's going to get elected president, probably, but that his agenda is what they have to discuss. And everywhere they go, people are saying to them, listen, I don't know, that comedian guy said XYZ. What about that? You know, and where they just can't avoid it. And it'll be a huge step up from any of the last presidential campaigns. As Dave was saying, Harry Brown was great, but he didn't have access to change the world in that Ron Paulian way.
Not at all.
Dave is going to. 2 years from now, we're going to have a Ron Paul revolution.
Look,
How come
listen,
we're going to dominate the entire goddamn
alternative
campaign.
media is dependent on not being just hyper censored. How are we going to overcome that?
Well, it's
Yeah,
getting
we'll figure it out.
we're getting more platforms.
That's
and-
another
No,
issue.
that's-
Can I make 2 quick points though?
Yeah, sure.
First off, there is the biggest void in modern American politics is honesty. And that is something we can deliver that will appeal to a whole bunch of disenfranchised people. Second, I think that I was reading For a New Liberty last night in my bed, and I flipped the book over and I look at it, and it says copyright 1979. I was born in 1982. And on the back of that book, it says, this is like the perfect encapsulation of all of the new ideas that are coming to American politics. My point in saying all this is this concept, these ideas, this party has existed for a blink of an eye in terms of like human history. I mean, certainly there's Enlightenment thinkers and stuff where we stole ideas from, but point being, to give up on this movement already after 50 years is such a fucking joke. I can't even believe that people seriously consider it. And I understand the despondency, but you got to get over it. We have a real opportunity.
And I think sometimes, and sometimes I'll see people say this, and even people like who I really, think are great, like great libertarians. Like I see like some of the guys in the Free State Project and stuff, and they'll say, they're like, look, like, and I love what they're doing. I think the Free State Project's incredible. And every time I go to Porkfest, I have a great time up there. It's incredible. And they're awesome, all those guys. But they'll say things like, they're like, look, we just got to concentrate because let's get real. The vast majority of people don't want this. And I just fall back to what I said. I'm like, listen, we tried this twice and there was unbelievable amounts of enthusiasm behind it. So are you really telling me you don't think we should keep building on that? And like, maybe it takes 4 or 5 more times. I'm not saying 2024 is going to be the end all be all and then all the problems will be over. But like, and this is the thing I've talked about a lot. And I was trying to really hammer this home on Pete's show when I was on a few times ago, where it was like, listen, man, like my grandfather like went through World War II and the Holocaust and all of this stuff, and he kept moving forward so that I could be where I'm at today. And it's like, so you're telling me, so that's the cross that you have to bear, is that it's like, oh, okay, and what are we talking about? Like going out and speaking and reaching new people and having a few beers afterward and all that stuff. Like that's it's like, come on, man. Like there are so many people who get so interested in this, and I see it all the time. It's my entire career. When I go out and do shows, man, like now it's like, I get flooded by people afterward who are like, dude, I never heard of any of this stuff. And this has changed my life and all of this. And it's like, why would we not pursue that? Why would we be that, like, particularly for the Hoppians out there? You're like, hey, what happened to time preference, motherfucker? Right?
Hey,
like let's fucking have a little bit of like, let's like think about a little bit beyond the next day and the next month and try to think that like, look, there's a real opportunity here to open. Look, me and Scott talk about this a lot, but the greatest tragedy of Ron Paul was just that his age didn't line up with his movement. Like he was just a little bit too old for when everyone got so interested. But man, if Ron Paul was 20 years younger, think about how many people are searching for some alternative to the establishment right now. And what's the problem with all of this stuff? What's the problem with Bernie Sanders and the problem with Trump and the problem with Ben Shapiro and the problem with Jordan Peterson and the problem with like every other, like crazy popular figure who's telling you like there's something wrong here and there's another way to look at it. The problem is just that they're not Ron Paul. And like that he had the answers. And like none of them are talking about what really matters. And like, not that they're not, some of them are talking about stuff that really matters, but none of them are getting right to the heart of it. And like to the core with the exact thing that caused the problem and the exact thing that's the solution to it. And so we just need to get our voice out there. And the issue is that, and this is my biggest mission, like for whatever I do right now, is that when people think libertarian, and this is why Tim Pool's is so excited by what we're doing, and a lot of these guys, is that when people think libertarian now, unfortunately, a lot of them are thinking Aleppo must be anti-racist. We support Black Lives Matter, the movement, we support, like they're thinking all these things. Whereas like Our job is to refocus that on, like, when you think libertarian, you think the people who were right about the wars, the Patriot Act, the deep state, the currency, the prison industrial complex, the police industrial complex, you think the people who are right about all of these really serious things that really matter, that are the reasons the country is spiraling out of control right now. That's what you think about.
Right.
Not any of this other nonsense. And not that you think about, like, whatever.
Well, Dave, let's
ahead.
switch gears just a little bit here. Dan's got to take off in a second, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Ghislaine Maxwell and the shit that's going on there. So I want to go to Dan for that because Dan is Mr. Conspiracy guy. But I mean, what do you think? What do you think that? Well, so is Dave Casey, I guess. But what?
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. What do you think is going to come from that trial, man? You think anything's going to
Put him
come
on
from
full
it?
screen mode, man.
Yeah, please put him on full screen.
You've been really bad about that, Josh.
I'm trying to watch, dude. I know. It's hard. I'm trying to get everybody's Twitter tags going under them, and it's a lot, man. I'm trying.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, dude. As far as I call her Ghislaine.
So do I.
That's what her name is.
Yeah.
As far as that whole case goes, I don't know if she even makes it to trial. I'll be shocked. I'm so disenfranchised, disillusioned with the entire system. I made a show about it, but like I was saying earlier about, like, the criminal justice system, I don't know, like, is anything going to happen to her? Probably something, because they don't need her anymore. Same thing that happened to Epstein. But what I care about is what's going to happen to everybody that was there, all the accomplices, everything. Like, even if you set all the elitist assholes that went there and screwed kids, you set those aside, which is probably way more than we even want to think about. But so 2 people ran this island. 2 people ran this operation. These are the only 2 people. Epstein and Maxwell are the only 2 people that ran Pedophile Island. That had elitists going in and out all the time,
Right.
flying planes and everything. They're the only 2 people, outside of some celebrity names and whatnot, obviously. But there's no other names that we haven't heard of that are like that were directly there. Like, who was cleaning the showers? Who was cleaning the Ghislaine stains off the
United
carpets
Nations,
or whatever?
mostly, probably, I'd imagine.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Well, I was looking over the list of names from the civil case that came out last year, and I mean, and now from what I understand, Clint was talking today about Jay-Z being named in a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
And if you were a big fan of Jay-Z, you better listen to all his shit now, because you're not going to like him next year. It's fucking insane to me. I was reading over that list because I never looked at the list last year.
It's bad.
The civil. I mean, Disney
Even Kanye
Corporation,
West is on there.
Sprint Corporation. I mean, all
Why
these
would Jay-Z be going to sing for Hillary Clinton if he wasn't being blackmailed, bro?
True.
Right? Yeah.
True.
It's a fair
Yeah, good point.
True, dude.
It's pretty gangster
apparently,
shit right
apparently
there.
he was doing like a gang rape with Harvey Weinstein. I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
Jay-Z.
And
Yeah.
Epstein.
I mean,
that let me be fair. I corrected my tweet. That case was dismissed. However, all those people listed, you had Rockefeller Records and all these big labels and shit. Disney was listed. But in the actual filing, it goes so far as to detail how Jay-Z had sex with a 13-year-old, aka raped a 13-year-old. I'm not saying it's true, but based off the other 2 people that are accused in that, Weinstein and Epstein, doesn't look good for him. So keep your eyes out for that.
He made like 2 full-length records with R. Kelly too, didn't he? Like,
I'll say this.
Yeah.
Look,
probably.
Here's the
spent some
thing,
time.
though. Before we move,
but he did cancel that tour.
Nas has been telling you guys for a long fucking time. Fuck Jay-Z. He said we're rocking hoes. He's rocking fellas. Right? That's what he said, bro. So I mean, he's been telling you guys.
Yeah.
Nas been telling you guys for a long time.
Then
man.
they made those songs together. Black Republicans was pretty dope.
Yeah.
It was so good.
So look, I'll say this, right? I think with a lot of these things, it's easy to go off speculating on a whole lot of stuff. And you got to just be careful about, like, let's not draw some conclusions, and we all have to guard against drawing the conclusions that are like sexier in our minds. No pun intended.
Not sexy.
But
Whoa,
not sexy in
buddy.
that
Whoa.
way. But
They
the
suit
things
our
that are
narrative.
more like, oh my God, this is the coolest movie ever, to going like, okay, is there maybe an easier answer that could be the case here or not? But I will say this with Epstein, the dude, like, if you follow his career, he went from being like he was teaching at Dalton, which is like this real elite private school in New York City, and he had a couple complaints against him there, by the way, from young girls, and
he
then
wasn't even qualified to teach there.
Yes. And the guy who hired him, if I'm not mistaken here, was Bill Barr's father.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then
yes.
And then he goes to Bear Stearns and he makes partner like outrageously quickly.
Right.
Like just very, very quickly. And then he goes on to like have this whole, career and life that he has. And the whole thing just smells a lot like there's some deep statey shit that's going on here.
Right.
Now, I don't know exactly what the answer is. I'm not going to be one of these guys who claims to be connecting all of the dots or anything, but I remember there was this moment. So this was on MSNBC news. I just happened to be watching. This is MSNBC of all places, right? And they were talking about how it was when they raided his like luxury apartment in Manhattan. And they were talking about the FBI going in and what they found. And they reported this on MSNBC like it was no big deal. And they found a bunch of things in this lockbox, including pictures of girls who appeared to be underage, pictures of other politicians, and a Saudi passport with his picture and a different name in it.
Oh, Jesus.
And then it comes back to the guys and they're like, huh, that's strange. And
Yeah.
you're just looking at it and you're like,
Anyway.
all right. So this does have like, there's some type of operation going on here. The fact that there were higher ups who stopped him, there were like deep state higher ups who stopped him from being prosecuted the first time. The fact that there was all this pressure on ABC reporters to drop their investigation. They may have claimed that it was about like, oh, we don't want to fuck up our relationships with the royal family. But yeah, no, something was a little bit more than that going on. But I don't know. I don't want to jump to like crazy conclusions, but I do think that it's like, look, like we're not stupid here. We know that there's a lot of crazy espionage shit that goes on, and it does seem like probably this guy was involved in something, and she was probably involved in it too.
I'm pretty sure Reed and Ryan Dawson said that he was like an Israeli operative of some sort. So I wish Reed was here to explain that.
Well, because Lane,
let's Scott
that,
weigh in on this.
Yeah, I do know that when the U.S. attorney in Florida let him go previously,
ding, ding.
He said that he was told, he didn't say by who, but that he was told by people higher up than him, let it go. He belongs to intelligence. That was
Dershowitz?
So the idea there would be that would mean the agency, but then importantly,
I got to
the
hit
lady
on
who's going on
All right,
trial
Dan.
right now,
Hey, take it
Maxwell.
easy, Dan. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
You good, Dan?
So, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Dave, don't be a coward. No, I'll take that.
But Maxwell is the daughter of an Israeli spy, like a very important Israeli spy, Robert Maxwell, who was really influential in British media and was mysteriously, obviously assassinated by, accidentally falling off his boat in the ocean in the middle of the night. And then this guy, and he was tied very close with, oh man, I'm sorry. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Scott forgot something?
Who was I'm sorry?
You forgot something? Does that happen?
Go full screen again for a second.
It does happen.
Scott's like the veritable Rolodex of
Let me just say quickly,
if you
don't go 40 years.
Netflix, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What?
I was just going to say, you don't go 40 years operating this giant child sex trafficking ring if you don't have connections, whether that means that it was actually ran by the CIA or they found out about it and then they used him to blackmail politicians. I don't know which led to which, but I find it extremely hard to believe that they didn't play a role.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it probably was the Israelis.
We're going full screen, Scott. You go ahead, buddy.
Well, look, I really should be something like an expert in this and really read up all the long form stuff. I've read some pretty good articles about it in the past, but I really should delve more into it. But I'm sorry, it's Wexler, right? Is the name of the guy from the fashion whatever.
Wexler. Yeah.
Who now? So there's a documentary on Netflix about this. I'm pretty sure it's a Netflix. About this, where they interviewed, I think Roberts is her name, who had been, one of the young girls that he had exploited back when.
Yeah, that's
And
great. I saw that.
at the end, they show she had drawn this big painting. You know, what do you call it when it's a giant goddamn thing?
Mural.
Yeah. And it has, you know, all these little bits and pieces of all the different people involved and whatever. And she has Epstein like flying away in a little flying saucer off to the side, but it's Wexler who is the evil octopus in the middle controlling it all and all of this and that kind of thing. So, and I think that this was Ryan Dawson's point, was that, you know, this was the center of the operation, was, you know, he was working with this guy Wexler and Maxwell's daughter, and the job is compromising people so that they serve the interests of Israel, which sounds right. And then why wouldn't the CIA or the FBI stop them? Because they're all compromised too at some point up and down the line, or at least there are so many powerful compromised people that you can't pull on this string because of what it'll unravel. I mean, look at former President Bill Clinton is up to his eyeballs in this. You know, there was a piece that's, I don't think Epstein is mentioned in it. It's just a piece from, I think, the Atlantic or the New Republic or something, about Bill Clinton and his buddy Brands. I'm sorry, I forget the guy's first name. But it was, Doug Band. That's his name, Doug Band. And he was Bill Clinton's like right-hand man, palling around for a long time. And so this is like W. Bush years. And they had, you know, their friends referred to their plane as Air Fuck One, because it was Bill and his buddy were just flying around and their plane was constantly full of hookers and blow and just having a great time and getting away with it. And everybody knew that. And then that guy, that same guy, Doug Band, he's on the list with Bill Clinton on the Lolita Express with Epstein. He also had these very close associations with Prince William, or which prince is it? Help me out. I'm sorry. Prince, what the hell in the UK there? I can't keep track of the
Prince
world.
Harry.
Andrew.
Andrew, that's right.
Yes,
and Prince Andrew, and very close ties with Ehud Barak, the former prime minister. So I don't know, was he compromising Ehud Barak, or was he's just working with Ehud Barak and was compromising people? Like, I'm not sure who's exactly zooming who. But
Was there
again,
anybody that was on the Lolita Express more than Bill Clinton? I don't think so. I think that,
I don't know. But I do know that they had to revise the numbers from a couple of times to 24 times, including trips to Thailand. I mean, oh my God, trips to fucking Thailand. What? And Bill Clinton, the former president from just a couple of presidencies ago, who's still around, whose wife was running for president. Remember when Hillary went on, this is probably the funniest joke told on the new Daily Show, was the guy, when he introduced Hillary Clinton, his first question for her was, how did you kill Jeffrey Epstein? And she's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Clint said, you don't get away with this for 40 years.
Yeah, the funniest
being protected, and this is not an operation, a government operation of control people.
And the funniest thing too is that, like, so it's like how much it'll be like, oh, well, like Bill Clinton flew on his jet, so then obviously we know he's guilty as sin. And then they'll be like, well, here's all these pictures of Trump hanging out with him at parties. And everyone's like, well, that doesn't mean nothing.
Right.
I mean, whatever. They all go to parties together. You're like, okay, well, that's, by the way, just kind of an interesting little like piece of information there. But look, for all this
he
stuff,
just wished Ghislaine Maxwell the best. Oh, she's going on trial. Good luck to you. You're a girlfriend of mine. I like her.
I don't mean to prejudge, but I think Melania looks like she's been trafficked. So there's a possibility somewhere.
Well, look, but the thing is, right, and of course, the major thing, and what we should, I think, care about in this case the most is that the way it ended with Jeffrey Epstein, right, and the fact that they would bust this guy in this huge case, and holy shit, here is this guy where you have objectively a guy who's running a sex trafficking ring. There's no question about this. Has underage girls involved. There's no question a former president of the United States is implicated. A current president of the United States is implicated. A prince is implicated. All these powerful people are implicated. And we got him, and now this is going to go to trial. And then he ends up dead in his jail cell. And the way that whole, like, Epstein didn't kill himself thing just, like, fucking blew up. The beauty of that is that you just see now how many people just don't buy into this. And like, it's like there's something way bigger than whatever this case is. Like, it's way bigger than that. And I remember, I think it was Tom who wrote a thing. I can't even remember what book or maybe a speech or podcast this was in. But you know the story of when the Pope came to the USSR And the Pope
Yes.
came and it drew like hundreds of thousands of people, like in this huge crowd. And it was almost like everyone there realized how many people were still Christians.
Right.
Like, they saw them all around them. Like they were like, oh shit, it's not just me. It's like there's so many people here who just don't believe in this. Even if they pretend to, or we don't know that they don't, or we think it's just me. And there's something beautiful in that. There's something really beautiful in knowing that there's a whole lot of people out here who know, like, this whole thing stinks. Like there's something really corrupt going on here. And even if they don't have it exactly right, or even if sometimes they go a little bit too wild and think they know something they don't exactly know, like, no, they get the essence of it, which is that these people who rule us are evil and they're lying to us.
Right.
That's our opening.
Do you think there's a schism in the deep state where there's like white hat versus black hat? Like the fact that Epstein was even arrested and charged in the first place is it's, to me, it's indicative that the deep state doesn't have shit totally airtight. I don't know, maybe that's just naive, but it seems like there are good guys in this bad system trying to make shit happen in a legit way, and they always seem to lose when Epstein, doesn't kill himself. But the fact that he was even arrested is somewhat encouraging to me. But maybe that's just naive.
Yeah, I think I agree.
It's amazing
black
she's
pilled
going on
opinion.
trial right now. I don't know how to explain the fact that they didn't just give her a year at the country club prison and let her go on her way. She'd plead guilty to that. Instead, they want to really take this to trial. And I'm sorry, because I hadn't even considered the possibility that there were just good people trying to do the right thing. I was only just wondering, like, wow, which different factions are applying which different pressures to get each other in trouble here.
Hey,
But
guys.
I'd really like to know, but you raise this really intriguing possibility, right? Like, I don't know. I don't really buy
Hey, guys,
it, but see what
I
you
thought
mean.
this podcast was being a little bit too funny, so I decided we needed more white women on it. Everybody say hi to Chrissi Mayr. How you doing? I always say it wrong.
Chrissi.
I say it wrong.
Hey,
Mayr.
Chrissy.
Hey guys,
Mayr.
it's Mayr. It's
Mayr.
Mayr.
It's
fine.
Mayr.
I always
Mayr.
say it wrong. I don't know why. I've heard you say it a million times.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about my period and my genitals only.
Oh, Jesus. Here we go.
Oh,
Fucking
Get
Well,
ready.
I don't know if
Get
you've
ready.
been listening, Chrissy, but that's been covered.
Yeah, we already covered genitals and periods.
Dave, were you talking about like I was in the waiting room, so I didn't hear the rest of what you're saying. Were you talking about like there's a larger problem going on, like people not being, I guess, as curious about like the Ghislaine Maxwell trial as they are? I mean, like the media made people obsessed with the Rittenhouse trial and then obsessed about all the wrong things, right? Like white people can do no right no matter what they do, anti-Second Amendment, anti-self-defense, like I don't know.
I don't no, I wasn't saying that. I mean, I think that I'm sure they're not gonna put the Maxwell trial out there, as much as that. But I kind of disagree with that when people are saying that like the Rittenhouse trial was like some distraction, like, oh, why are we paying attention? I think it was obvious why people were so interested in that trial. And it wasn't as simple as like, oh, this was a self-defense case. It was like, because the entire media pretended like the longest sustained riots in my lifetime never happened.
Right.
And they did. And so when there was someone who came out there to like, try to confront them, and I don't know exactly what the kids' motives were. Probably, if we're being honest with a 17, 18-year-old, part of it was just like to be cool and badass. But regardless, yeah, pretty incredible, but could have died in the process, but luckily didn't. But I think there were I think there was a real reason why people cared about that kid getting off for self-defense. That being said, I'm sure there's a reason why this trial won't get as much. And as Scott said earlier, or maybe he didn't say it exactly like this, but the what's the dude who they just got convicted of killing the dude who they chased down on the road, Aubrey. There's a reason why that trial won't get as much attention, because that would just kind of unite a lot more people than it would like divide us.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
that's not
big time.
useful.
Yeah.
That would just get a lot of people being like, yeah, you can't chase me down on the road.
Jace, thanks so much for hanging out, brother.
Good brother.
Yeah, you guys have a
Dave.
great night. This was awesome.
You too.
All right, Dave. I know that you like guys like you and Scott would tend to stay away from the more conspiratorial stuff. Like, well, if we don't know the facts, you don't want to really dive in too deep. But do you think it would be a good strategy to just say it anyway? Because fuck it. I mean, but what the Epstein, what this whole Epstein moment kind of did to these people like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and now even Jay-Z, it kind of it dehumanizes them in a way, and it takes some of their posterity away, where people look at them as these figures that can do no wrong. And I think Dave's mentioned it on the show before, where you've said something like, Hillary Clinton is not your grandma. She doesn't have these same kind of ideas and tendencies. So when you look at her, don't get that confused. She's a blood-soaked monster. And maybe we should be using that narrative, or at least kind like just
unless
trying
your
to
grandmother has had people killed, then
which my grandma.
Yeah, why are you just assuming my grandma was such a great person? Well, I'll say this, like my thing, and I decided this a long time ago, that I was like, okay, I could sit here and like constantly be thinking about, okay, like, well, what's the strategy and what should I say if this would get me ahead or this, and then like what I realized is like, well, like the reason I loved all of the political figures and all of the comedians that I loved, like the reason I love Ron Paul and the reason I love Patrice O'Neill and the reason I love like all these guys was because they just told the truth. And so I'm not trying to like think about like, well, would it be better if I said this or that or what? I'm just going to tell the truth. So, or at least as I see it, And so, yeah, I'm not going to like, if there's an interesting conspiracy theory, I'll talk about how like, okay, I mean, you're speculating a little bit here with this, but this is kind of an interesting theory. But I kind of feel like with a lot of these wild conspiracies, my thing is it's almost like, like if you were just, for example, right, if you were trying to convince someone that Dick Cheney did 9/11, right, I would feel almost like, okay, it's like a murder trial and you've got this guy dead to rights on the murder conviction. And then you're like, but someone told me he, was planning on blowing up the White House. So we'll just try to convict him on that. It's
in Minecraft.
I don't know. Just convict him for what you have him on. He led a conspiracy to kill 1 million people in Iraq.
Right.
Why do I need to fucking like go to this next level of something that might be true or might not be true? We got enough. We got the case like locked already. So let's just stick with what we know.
Advocate, though. We do know that that he probably did mastermind 9/11, and he walks free. And whatever, being hyperbolic, he walks free, and his daughter is still in Congress or whatever she's doing. So
we have the truth, but we don't know that he masterminded 9/11. I mean,
we know that these people. We know that a lot of these people were the masterminds of atrocities, and no matter how much we say it,
9/11s, but the 9/11s weren't in New York. They were 9/11s all over, the Middle East and Northern Africa.
We're talking about 9/11. I could see Dave up there salivating, dude.
I think the unfortunate
thing, did I get a call early that morning not to come into work? Sure, but I'm just saying that I didn't.
I mean, the unfortunate point is to Top's point is that a lot of people won't care unless it's American lives that were taken, and I think that's a genuine concern. But let's be honest: if Dave wanted to get ahead by lying, he'd be in the GOP right now. So it ain't gonna happen. I think you stick to the truth, and you run on our principles, and you say it with passion, and you stand out because you are the only political figure that's telling the truth. So for the love of God, don't change that, please.
Well, and what's that? That's the fucking whole thing, right? And I said this the other day when I was on Pete's show. And I think, Scott, you brought this up before a bunch of times, but it's that Huxley quote, which is such a good one. And I never get it exactly right when I say it, but it's like it's like he was like saying like, no, it's not a matter of whether the ends are justified or justify the means. That's all nonsense. Right. The reality is that means determine ends. And there is really something about that, right? Like, and that's the problem with people who abandon libertarianism and abandon telling the truth or abandon whatever, because it's like, well, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get to these these ends that I want. Is that, well, once you accept that and you go, well, I'm going to lie for this reason or I'm going to exaggerate for this reason, it's like, well, then that leads to another one and another one and another one. And ends in a weird way are all an illusion. Like ends don't really exist. It's all means, because everything's a constant journey and a
Dave
constant.
is subtweeting at Tho right now, at Tho Bishop right now.
No, I wasn't thinking about Tho at all.
I'm just kidding.
I really wasn't. I'm just saying that it's like the idea that I'm going to lie and lie and lie to ultimately get to the truth. It's like, well, there is no ultimately get to. You just end up lying a whole bunch, and then you convince yourself why it's okay to lie again and again and again.
Right.
And so it's like,
Sound like my dad.
Oh,
Well, as far as all the conspiracy stuff
well, your
goes,
dad was right, Chrissy, and he should have done a better job.
But look, I
You
used
should have
to be a
stuck
New World
around a
Order
little bit
kook.
more.
I'm a reformed New World Order kook, and I'm here to testify that the kooky stuff isn't ever really right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even when I was a kook, me and my I had a friend named Chris. We were both cab drivers, and he was a bit more right wing than me, but we were both into like Bircher, UN, world government stuff and stuff like that. But we always had a line like, come on, chemtrails and all this other stuff. That's all bullshit. The New World Order stuff is true, but that other kooky shit is kooky shit. But then, look, it was just like, a couple years after that, and it should have been with when Clinton used NATO and not the UN to attack Kosovo over Russia's dead body. I should have known right then. It still took me another 2 years to get it through my head, really, till Cheney was in charge.
Right.
That these guys are not building a world government under the United Nations. Whatever it is that they're doing, that's not what it is.
You're breaking
And I
Dave
gotta
Casey's
admit,
heart
that
right
could
now,
just be
Scott.
right.
No, I moved on to the global reset, the fourth industrial revolution. That's the new shit, bro.
I know, but wait, like at that time, it was right during the 9/11 shit. And right at the time that all the truthers were saying, oh, there are bombs in the towers and a missile hit the Pentagon and they faked all the phone calls home to mom and all of the conspiracy quackery around 9/11. It was at the exact same time that the neocons were saying, oh, it was Saddam Hussein because his guy met Mohammed Atta in Prague and handed him a flask of anthrax and all this shit. And it was the exact same thing in parallel. You had the neoconservatives conspiracy theory about 9/11, and you had the patriot kooks conspiracy theory about 9/11, and they were all completely fucking, missing the real question. If there was a real conspiracy, of course, it was Cheney having an understanding with Saudi intelligence that we want to help this happen, and we want to, leave doors open and allow it to happen.
That's enough for
but all
me.
that got obscured by all the hyperbole. People are going, oh, bombs in the towers, bombs in the towers. Did I get your attention?
Well,
yeah, but you got the attention of a bunch of fools who would believe that. But you didn't
also,
get the
and more
attention
than
of people
that,
who know better than that, but might want to know, what did Prince Bandar know? If we have to interrogate anyone, let's interrogate Prince Bandar.
Right.
Now
So
we're
here's
finally
the thing,
getting
right?
somewhere.
Scott Horton comes out in favor of torture. Unbelievable.
It's the bill of attainder. It's a single case issue.
But look. So here's the thing, right? It's like, so Scott, right? Like you even said, it's like, well, maybe we'll get the attention of a lot more people if we have this like crazy wild story that like people will jump onto, right? And there's something to be said for that, but there's also something to be said for all of the people who will see through that and reject your entire thing.
Right.
And then if you ever get okay, so Alex Jones might get a whole bunch of people being like, yeah, I think this whole government's like a big conspiracy. But then if you ever point out a real conspiracy, there'll be a whole bunch of people who are like, okay, Alex Jones.
Right.
Like, because of all the dumb shit he's
You
said,
were the
which I know.
frog guy.
Yeah, but like, and that one
like
was
the
that
boy
one was
who
true.
cried.
How long was that
Actually
good?
true.
The boy who not cried wolf, but cried gay frogs. I fucked it up. Sorry.
But I also like, I gotta say,
the frogs were really turning gay, though. You guys know that, right?
Yeah, well, not exactly, but there
Bisexual,
were,
big deal.
Bisexual, whatever. Frogs gotta live, right?
Who hasn't gone to college?
Yeah, I wouldn't call Clint gay. I would call him bisexual.
Clint
But
Russell
the
went.
thing is that-
Clint just went home with Reed like the other night, dude. You know what I mean?
But it's even like, it's like a lot of people now, like even in our circles, they'll be like, oh, Alex Jones was right, or he was right about everything, or all this, and it's like, no, he fucking wasn't, dude. Like, I don't know. I used to listen to his show. He was wrong about so much, dude. Like so much just nonsense that he threw out there and turned out to have not even like a shred of truth to it. Nothing.
Right.
And then he was right about some of the really major things too. But I guess if you're throwing shit at the wall, you're going to be right about some shit and wrong about other
Muddies the
things.
water.
But
Yeah.
so the thing is, like, to me, I look at it and you're like, yeah, like Dave, you said, well, okay, even if that was the case, that he kind of like knew something that the Saudis were involved and let it happen in the worst case, well, that's enough, right? But I agree. But at the same time, I don't even need that. I don't even need to say if that was it. I remember I was a New Yorker on 9/11, standing on Flatbush Avenue, a mile and a half away from the World Trade Center, watching people covered from head to toe in soot who had just walked over the fucking Brooklyn Bridge.
And you were a young
back.
guy. You were young like me. We were
yeah, I
the
was
same
18.
age. Yep.
And I remember this moment. I remember like all of it. And the idea that the United States of America, our federal government, armed and fucking financed Al-Qaeda after that,
right?
Like, right. So what else? Yeah.
What else do I need?
Right.
And that's a fact. That's an ironclad fact that cannot be disputed. We're acting as their air force right now in the Arabian Peninsula. And we were acting as a lot more than just their air force in Syria for years, at least between 2012 and 2017. And so what more do I need? Why do I need to go to this next level of something that might or might not be true when I have the ironclad case right in front of me? That it's like, you guys, knowing who Al-Qaeda was, like, still supported them in just to pick two examples, Yemen and Syria, but also add in there Libya and like a few, but just, you know what I mean? Saying, so like, why do I need to pick these other things when someone could look? I remember, and I'll just say this one. I remember being a little older than the 9/11 story. I remember watching Loose Change in maybe after I was out of college. I don't know. When did Loose Change come out? But I remember watching it when it first came out.
2003, 2004, something like that.
Yeah, right. And being an idiot kid and watching it and going, whoa, dude, they just proved the case. They proved it. I mean, look, you see, when the towers are coming down, there's these little poofs of smoke out at the bottom. So obviously, it was a controlled demolition. And then watching some physicists on some video being like, well, I mean, if a building is collapsing, it's going to drive air out of the bottom, and that's why you see poofs of smoke. And then being like, I feel like an idiot, and like, you just need a few moments like that before you're like, all right, let me just settle down before I jump on what the coolest story is and decide I think that's right. Let me go with what the actual evidence and facts point toward. And it's
really,
already so great
every day. Right? You see people jump on a story every day and then, actually, it's really not quite that. And I should stipulate, by the way, that my wife is one of the Jews who didn't go to work that day and had an office in the North Tower.
No shit.
Did she go?
Oh.
Yeah, no, she was sick, staying with her parents in Florida, watching it on TV.
Oh,
And,
Thank God
Dave's
Dave's
couple
parents
across
told
the
her.
hall from her.
She was
lived
sick
and-
with enthusiasm.
Was she on a rooftop?
He was watching it masturbating.
Did she have a good dance afterwards?
holding a
My
lighter
kids.
up with the thing in the background.
Oh my God.
No, but yeah, no, she I think her office was like on the 80-something floor of the North Tower, or something like that.
That's
She'd have
wild,
died
dude.
if she'd been there.
Fucking wild shit.
No, it's it. But I'm just saying. So it's like, so look, there's some value, right, in like being like, oh, you could tell this story that like it'll draw a lot of people in. But then, like, to me, I just feel like this is my like low time preference, is that I think there's more value in never being able to be like proven like you were completely full of shit and lying about that story.
Right.
That's just, and maybe it's just my own like personality or whatever, my own insecurities. It's like, I just never want to be that guy.
Autism.
It's called autism. Hey, there is one. There was one.
I don't know. It's not exactly autism. It's more narcissism or something like that, where it's like, I just don't want to ever. Yeah, it's like, I don't ever want to be the guy who like went all in on something so wrong and then just gets embarrassed.
Dave,
like,
have you seen the Flat Earth documentary on Netflix? Have you ever watched it?
Oh, it's so good.
Dude, it's the best shit I've ever seen.
I watched I think 20 minutes of it with my wife when it first came out.
There's a scene in it that's my favorite.
I'm convinced.
The head of the Flat Earth Society or whatever, the guy who throws the big conventions, he's sitting there with his mom, and the interviewer's like, is there any scientists involved in flat Earth? And he kind of pans around and goes, no, and there can't be. And I just lost it, dude. I fucking lost it. I fell out of the chair I was sitting in, laughing. I had it recorded. I put it on TikTok. It was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. But I get it. Like that's the same thing. I mean, people watch this documentary. They spend their whole life on all this shit, and then at the very end, they prove their theory wrong. At the very end of the documentary.
And I get it, but I get like, maybe not the flat Earth one so much, but particularly with the like 9/11 truth thing and like with some other things, like I get where it's like when you see how fucking corrupt the system is, it's very easy to be like, dude, I bet they're even like, why wouldn't it have been Dick Cheney who fucking did 9/11? You know, he's that evil. Like, why wouldn't he have done it? And why wouldn't, like, you know, even look at like Fauci or something like that. I mean, just the level of what we know now compared to what we knew in March of 2020.
Knowing what you know, would you say that they would not? Take
no,
out
I would never say.
right.
Look, if I saw some
people,
compelling evidence came out tomorrow that Dick Cheney had done 9/11, it's not like I would be like, my God, my world is shaken. You know, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Casey, what'd you say?
The question isn't whether he's got the morality to keep him from doing something like. The question is whether he thinks he could really get away with something like
or
that.
what evidence you have that he actually did it. I mean, that's like the real like question. Is like what reason is there to believe that that's actually what happened? And yeah, your point too, Scott, right? Like you have to keep in mind that doing something like this would require someone to measure the risk and say that that's actually worth it, that if you're found out, you might hang publicly. You know, like it's just, there's just a lot of different, like,
especially hitting the Pentagon. You know, if some 3-star general's wife dies in a terrorist attack at the Pentagon and he knows that the vice president of the United States was in on it, he might just walk right across that bridge and put the vice president against the wall and turn around and nuke Riyadh tomorrow. And what's to stop him from doing that?
Chrissy, you're from New York. You're from New York. Where were you when 9/11 happened?
Oh God, I was a freshman in college in Fairfield, Connecticut, and I was just like dumb, and I was like just trying to hook up anybody wearing a white hat. You know, remember when they used to have the letters on them?
Oh, yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
And I was like vaguely like watching the TV. I was like, what's going on? I'm 17 and retarded. And I remember just briefly we were like worried, okay, like my brother had worked for Con Edison at the time, and we're like, okay, was it in the city or was it out in White Plains? Okay, he was out in White Plains. I'll go back to giving bad hand jobs now.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Chrissy, were you born in 83 or 84?
83, baby.
Oh shit, another one. Me and Dave too. Dave and I as well.
Struggled with that.
When's your birthday? November
11th.
Oh, you're way younger than us.
What's your social security number?
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute.
Do you have a credit card on you?
Although back in the day, our student ID numbers were our social security numbers, and I remember I had a huge crush on Chris McGee, and I memorized his student ID number, which was in turn his social security number. I like created a little song out of it.
Oh Jesus! You still got it by any chance? Do you know if he's vaxxed?
I might still have it. No, I'm sure he's totally vaxxed. Ugh,
oh, sick! Can I get that? Can I get that number? Do you remember?
I look at pictures of his kids, and their eyes are too far apart. I made the right decision.
Let me make one quick endpoint because I've been waiting to hop in here.
Yeah.
The other thing about leading people down the conspiracy path, if you don't have a really solid foundation, if you looked at the news over the past week, you had over 100 QAnon supporters that were standing in the bridge in Dallas, fucking waiting for JFK and JFK Jr. to show up, and guess what? They didn't show up. So you end up engaging people in a political activity that's fucking worthless.
Excuse me, Clint. Clint, are you saying that you don't trust the plan? You don't trust the plan?
I don't trust the plan.
How old would JFK be today?
Dude, fucking old.
Pretty old. And also he would have had to have had his brain put back together. So definitely not
He'd
alive.
have to be,
but even short
80s.
of JFK didn't actually get shot or whatever like that. I mean, that dude, didn't he have like major back problems and health problems and
a drug problem?
Shit. He was doing fucking every drug under the sun and fucking.
He'd have to be in his 80s.
Of syphilis.
He'd have to be in his 80s. 70s or 80s.
Jesus, man.
You know, the QAnon thing, I don't pay much attention to it because I don't like picking on people with no power, you know, but like just as a psychological phenomenon, like, you know, end times churches and different things like that. I mean, it really is something. And I always thought for a long time that it was like a Daily Kos Democrat that was just trolling these right wingers, you know, and I guess they figured out that it's this duo out in the Philippines or whatever who essentially started this lie and can't wrap it up. And so they just keep going and going. jerking these 8chan people around. But the thing of it is it's a huge movement, like percentage wise on the right, it's not. But in terms of total numbers, it's incredible. It's essentially equal to the entire conspiracy theory, patriot type movement of the 1990s or more. And yet it's completely off the scale of crazy, right? Like, I don't know, but I presume that Alex Jones doesn't promote that stuff, right? He must say that it's BS.
No,
if
Alex
only for,
Jones
like,
actually,
competition reasons.
dude.
But
Tim Dillon had the funniest joke about that shit. I can't even remember.
I want to get on the show so bad.
It was when Alex Jones went off on his show. I was like, "You QAnon people are out there. You've got no evidence to back up what you're saying." And Tim Dillon was like, "When Alex Jones is telling you, you gotta pack it in. You may want to like reassess where you're going." Can I tell you, Scott? I'll tell you the one time. Here's the one time that I thought there might be something going on there, and not like the wildest QAnon shit. Not that like, you know, there was like this plan and someone was gonna, whatever the QAnon thing is, I don't know. But when the Hunter Biden laptop came out, and the way that the fucking entire corporate press apparatus, along with the tech companies, all worked to shut that down, unlike anything else. And look, sure, it was like a couple of weeks left in the presidential election, and they were just like, look, we're not going to allow this October surprise in. That could maybe, you know, it was an election where pulling a couple points one way or the other could have made the difference. And so I get that.
Oh, but shit. Look at Chrissy.
Whoa.
She got the doll. She got the doll.
Yeah.
And his laptop.
Remember when
does he come with a crack pipe?
Yes. I can't believe I haven't lost.
It's got a crack pipe.
Rad.
Tremendous.
This is my favorite thing. I have to get one of those now. I have to get
Do you
put it on a
remember
t-shirt.
when Samantha Guthrie, is that her name? You know the one I'm talking about. She was interviewing Trump, and she asked him point blank about QAnon and was like grilling him about it. And Trump was like, listen, I don't know much about QAnon, but they don't like pedophiles. I don't like pedophiles. I think pedophiles are right. You know, and like just went on this whole thing. And it was so weird. And
They
then
like me a lot.
there was this one segment where it was either Jake Tapper or Brian Williams or someone like that, where they were like, listen, when the Hunter Biden thing came out, they go, there's going to be some ugly things that are accused of him. And then Giuliani came out and said straight up, like, no, there are images with him with underage girls on this tape. And I hate Rudy Giuliani. I don't fucking trust that guy for shit. My origin story is the Ron Paul Giuliani moment. Like, fuck Rudy Giuliani. But that did seem like a thing. Like, I wouldn't think he was that guy. I wouldn't think he would claim there were videos of underage girls when there weren't. Like, that just, and that whole story, the way they just squashed all of it, and it all just kind of, but anyway, for that week when that was going on, I go, you know, I kind of think they might be about to find out that Joe Biden's kid is like fucking underage chicks, and there's something going on here.
Right.
Now, nothing ever really materialized with that I could hang my hat on, but that was the one like week or two where I really kind of, not like the crazy QAnon stuff, but I really kind of believed, I was like, oh, maybe there's like something big is going to come out about this. But
hey, we talked about Epstein earlier. I mean, there certainly are networks of powerful people who commit terrible crimes.
Well, look at what happened to Project Veritas 2 weeks ago. They got raided by the FBI because of the diary of Biden's daughter, in which she allegedly said that she had inappropriate showers with Joe Biden, the president of the United States, and the FBI raids them. The only time I think that these conspiracies are real is when the media responds how they did when it comes to the laptop, when it comes to the diary. Then I go, oh shit, we have something. Now you look at QAnon, the media doesn't have much to say. Now they kind of
they
joke
like to
about
promote
it,
them.
like whatever.
In fact, they like to push them forward and be like, oh, look at these guys. You know, they like that. You got to always think about too, like who the guys are that the media really likes.
Right.
Like, you know, they could say whatever they want, but they loved Charlottesville. They loved those guys. They loved Richard Spencer. They loved all of them. They loved putting them on every show they want to fucking put them on, because they love to be like, yeah, see, that's what the choice is.
Spencer's a fucking psyop anyways, though. Let's be honest.
Well, I don't know, man, but he's
a Fed plant. He's a plant of some sort. He's at least compromised.
He's at least homosexual.
Definitely that one.
That there's a stronger argument for. Look, I don't know about any of that shit. I just think that like there's almost like this game that they play where they're like, well, look, you're either a woke progressive, or you're a Nazi.
Right.
And then there will be some people who will be like, yeah, well, fuck you, then I'm a Nazi.
Right.
And that's basically what the alt-right is. It's not even like really people who are fucking Nazis for the most part. I mean, maybe like part
There's
of them
some,
are.
yeah. There's some, for sure.
But for the most part, it's just people being like, fuck you, woke progressive, then I'll be Nazi. But it's like, you don't even realize that it's like, you're just playing right into their hands. You just completely solidified their worldview that you have to either be a woke like progressive or a Nazi. So then they elevate those people to be like, see, doesn't this prove our point? And that's why Joe Biden, his first presidential campaign ad was about Charlottesville. This was in the middle of 2020 when there's lockdowns, there's a pandemic, there's like all these fucking problems going on. And he goes, you know, the real problem is, remember 3 years ago when 200 white nationalists marched in a thing? And like what? The only reason they love to elevate that is because it like reinforces their whole worldview. That if not for us, then Nazi.
You know what's crazy,
So
Dave? You know what's crazy though, because you and I get called Nazi all the time. Clint gets called Nazi. I know
Hey,
Dave.
me too.
I'm sure Chrissi
We haven't
does.
even gone public yet.
Top Lobster's definitely 100% a Puerto
I'm
Rican
half
Nazi.
German.
But let's
too.
examine real Nazis in this country. There's Matthew Heimbach, who's absolutely 100% a National Socialist, and people like Richard Spencer. These people are leftists. I mean, really, at the end of the day, when you examine their policies, they're calling for leftist policies for white people. You know what I mean? That's really what it is.
Yeah, but that's all, you know, I mean, I don't know. The Nazis, the real Nazis, were essentially like right-wing socialists, right? So it depends on how you're using the term leftist or not. Like certainly economically speaking, like yes, they embrace like they embrace like, you know, nationalists. Look, the term nationalist and socialist are really, they're not that far off from each other. I mean, to the point where what you could they're almost synonyms in certain examples, right? Like if you say a nationalized healthcare system or a socialized healthcare system,
the same thing.
Right. They mean the same thing, right? So economically speaking, oftentimes these terms are kind of interchangeable. But
well, I think the only difference
I'm
is
not
that
one of these people who says like, oh, the Nazis were left wingers or something like that. I don't think that's exactly right. Like,
economically, for sure, for their own people.
They were right wing socialists, but they, you know, they certainly were not. There was no illusion of like egalitarianism amongst the Nazis. It was a completely hierarchical, traditionalist, you know, kind of like movement. So again, it's a lot of these things like debates between left and right. Like it all comes down to like how you. If you're going to define left and right on your own terms, then it just becomes circular logic.
Right.
So like this is the problem I've had with some people where they're like, well, I define left as everything that's bad in the world and right as everything that's good in the world. And I'll be like, but what about this time when the right was really, really bad? And they'll be like, they were being left. Like, all right. So like, what point are you making?
That's fair. That's a fair thing.
Like this is like the like really, really dumb circular logic. Like, okay,
so do you consider neocons leftists?
Well, I mean, neocons were certainly originally Trotskyites. I mean, that is their origin. So you could make an argument that they were to some degree leftist, but no, not really. When the neocons were in power in America, all of the things that they played on were nationalism and tradition and hierarchy and military. And that, so no, like I really don't think, look, I would say the most reasonable, like, definitions of left and right would be that the left is concerned with egalitarianism and democracy and oppose hierarchies, particularly what they would call unjustifiable hierarchies. And the right is concerned with preserving, you know, tradition and hierarchies and the old order and establishment. I mean, I like loosely speaking, I think those are more or less what you would say. And so I don't think that, you know, like, I don't think a movement that's completely pushing nationalism and hierarchy and militarism is, I mean, I don't know. There's aspect like, again, you could
look, that's why they're neocons. They used to be leftists.
Yeah.
And then they got mugged by reality and became Reaganites. You can't just sit here and go, no, they're still Trotskyites. The point is they moved right. Now they still want world revolution. And that ain't very conservative, but that doesn't make it left wing. It's still right wing, but it's right wing radicalism rather than conservatism.
Whatever they
maybe,
are, they're
but-
the worst thing on the planet.
Guys,
All
so
I
Yeah,
know
yeah, I
is you
agree.
send a couple people some videos over the lockdowns, and then you end up with these socks for Christmas.
oh Jesus.
That's the real cost.
I want some
here.
QAnon
Send
socks.
those
though.
my way,
I'll
please.
buy some
Subscribe to
QAnon
Chrissy's,
socks.
OnlyFans to
I
see
have
the
to be sure. One time I wore them and I was flying that day, and like my pant leg was up, and I crossed my legs, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Chrissy doesn't have an
Everybody's
OnlyFans,
giving
but
you
she
the
does.
thumbs up.
She does have an entire Twitter dedicated to her boobs, though.
Oh God, I don't want to talk about
That's a
that.
true thing.
They follow me, by the way. I think that's
Yeah.
really weird.
like it's
And
funny
it's
because
actually a really good account.
a lot of us have like
Yeah.
sock accounts of us. There's the like 5,994th Josh's Child account. Toplobsta's got Bottom Lobster. Dave Smith's got Fat Dave. Clint Russell's got some
Actually,
weird.
What?
I
Huh?
love
Fat Dave,
Smith.
Fat Dave Smith. Yeah, they had to ban him because
Yeah,
his
Fat Dave
account was
Smith's
way
gone.
better than regular Dave Smith.
There's evil Scott Horton.
Hey, man.
I'm sorry, I'm just calling it like I see
You know,
it, man.
listen,
fuck
dude,
you, Fat
you know
Dave.
what sucks? You know what sucks about fucking Twitter is I can't even have fun on fucking Twitter anymore.
I
I can't even tell
Oh.
jokes on there anymore.
Oh no, you got
'Cause it's
almost
just-
200,000 followers. It sucks now.
No, it does. Let me tell you, it does. Twitter was the most fun
Yeah.
at about 50,000 followers. That's when it's like the most fun. You're like, oh, I have some followers and I can get people interested in it, and I still don't give a fuck, and I'll say. And then the more followers you get, the more you're like, oh, all right, is it really worth it? Like, oh, I got some sick
Oh.
joke I want to tell, but then, dude, I want to start over from 100,000 back to zero.
Yeah, I
and
just
have
started
to
over
fucking
after
build
I
back up.
lost
And it
20,000
sucks.
followers.
And
Dave.
you're like, what am I
Sucks.
even? So now I'm just making these calculations. Whereas, like, really, I just want to be like the Tower Power guys and just fucking say fucked up shit all the time. But
That's
I
why he
can't do
follows
that
us.
anymore.
Just keep
Yeah,
it, dude.
that's
I really
awesome.
can't.
Keep it to leave
Shout
this
out,
case,
shout out to
buddy.
Drew Hancock. Dave Smith is suffering from success right now. Can't say-
I feel your
Listen.
pain, brother. I'm about to hit 25,000, and I tweeted out that shit about Jay-Z this morning, and I wake up to it goes viral. I wake up to so many people going, "This case was dismissed. Why are you spreading disinformation?" And I was like, "I'm just a small Twitter account. Why are you
shit.
giving me shit? I don't owe you anything."
Bro,
and I was like, "Oh shit,
bro, I
have
just
25,000
Small town
followers."
girl.
I just
clearly
lost
lying.
20,000
Listen, man,
followers.
there's
dude. That shit hurts.
I've been in the fucking like for what I do, I've been in the sweet spot for the last few years where I'm like, I'm not not big enough that I would make like a scalp that someone would be proud to have.
Mm.
So like no one really gives a shit about it. Like
That's
no one
not
really
true,
cares
Dave.
if you like
There's a
I fucking
lot of
getting
dudes out there
close.
that
People
will
like
no, but
Bill.
those people, no, but those are like irrelevant people who don't matter. I'm talking about like it's someone who matters
Right,
doesn't
right,
want to go like
Sure.
the way they want to take like Gavin McGinnis or
Right.
someone like that and be like, yeah, we brought him down. We
Yeah.
like
You're in that,
ruined this
you're in
guy.
that area now.
Now it's like I'm starting to get to that point where you're like, shit, dude, you guys.
Like
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Cato,
and even
Cato
if
would
you-
love to take
Jenga.
you down, Dave. Cato would
And
love
yeah.
to take you
oh
down.
yeah,
crazy.
again, but no one cares. Like
Right.
those
Okay,
guys
I'll
just
give you
don't
my
matter.
account.
I'm talking about someone who really
I will
matters.
give you my account. I promise you.
Yeah, but that's
Sure.
I
That gives you a head start.
appreciate it, but yeah, it's still it's like, but though that's like you can't. It doesn't even matter because however careful you are, they could always fucking find whatever you've said over the
True.
years, and I've put out the most fucked up shit ever. And the fucked up thing that I'm in the position of is that like if I was just making jokes, I think that I'd be okay, or if I was just making points, I'd be okay. But I make jokes and points. So it'll be real easy for them to be like, look at this horrible joke followed by this serious point, and then convince people
Yeah.
that like I really meant the joke. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's which people have tried already. But luckily for me, my enemies are very unpowerful so far, and also evidently not good at research because they still have not found the worst of what I've done.
almost
I think,
a
did it-
year.
was I
God,
not?
be careful.
Hey,
I'm
I don't think I
shocked.
was. I don't think I was doing big screen enough for Scott, so he took off. But he's back now.
Oh.
There you go,
Hey.
Scott. Sorry about that, man.
I
Hey,
brought my mouse. and
oh, hey, let's.
wire.
Can we?
I got to bail in like 5 minutes.
Okay, before you go,
unfortunately,
we,
Yeah,
we got a
it's-
lot of super chats during the show. I'd like to address some of them because
Sure.
I usually address all my super chats. Fat Dave said, if Fakertarians ate more soy, thanks, buddy. Forrest Mommy said, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Craig said, thankful for all. Let's see. I'm trying to get to them all. They don't show them all in the chat anymore. Ben Heckman said this lineup's more stacked than Rittenhouse's body count. Happy Thanksgiving. Also, it's Heckman, not Hackman. There was some that I really wanted to get to, and I just want to Let's see.
Oh, Archie Flowers said you're too cowardly to debate him again. Oh shit.
That's not really Archie Flowers. It's the sock, dude. Fat
I'm
Dave.
not going to debate Archie Flower again. By the way, one of you other guys.
Fat Dave
If
said
one of you other
Thin
guys
Dave
wants to
is
take
on.
him on for me. Be my proxy. Go ahead.
Fat Dave said Thin Dave is on Toplobsta time. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. Matthew Lucas super chatted $10. Thanks, man. He said, if you had to eat Thanksgiving dinner at John Bolton's house or Dick Cheney's house, which one would you pick?
Oh,
No, I want Bolton. Cheney's almost dead.
Yeah.
but does he have better food?
Oof, he might.
You know, I met Dick Cheney once, and he
Illuminati meeting.
yeah, and they were like, listen, they were
No,
like,
dude,
look,
it
you're
was,
one of
it
us.
was, it was a Jew. It was a Jewish get together, bro. Just calm down.
Dude, the first fucking.
You guys hear the rain?
Look,
Do I need to
if-
close the window?
If you
No, you're
want more
fine.
than
No, you're
50,000
good.
followers on Twitter, this is what you have to do.
No, this was years ago. I had no followers on fucking Twitter, but it was like one of my first, like maybe one of my first 3 Fox News gigs ever. And this is O'Reilly was on back then, and he was like there doing Bill O'Reilly's show, and I think we were doing Red Eye, and we used to tape like at 8, and it was our show didn't air till like 2 a.m. or whatever, but we were there and we were in the makeup room together, and it was me, Liz Cheney, and Dick Cheney.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was the most, and I'll tell you, dude, this motherfucker had an energy like exactly what you would expect Dick Cheney's energy to be. Like you just like, I I walked in the room and I was like, why am I so cold? And you looked over and you were like, Jesus.
You could feel the soul of 1,000 dead Iraqis.
Swear to God,
evil
I'm not
over
even-
there.
It was like I was there, and I was like, oh shit, that's Dick Cheney. And then I made a few jokes like while I was sitting there, and like the makeup girls were laughing, and Liz Cheney was laughing a couple times because I was just like making jokes, and then I would just look over at Dick Cheney's face, and it was like, like it was just like I could be torturing people right now, and instead I have a jackass comedian like over here. He's
I know
I
somebody
just don't
who
want to
met.
be in a room with him again.
I know
ever.
someone who met Bill Gates and felt this a similar thing, like very cold.
Yeah.
Very-
He's got
Hey,
that.
my
He's got
friend
the
got
cold
away
dead
with
eyes.
attacking W. Bush.
What?
I wish I could say it was me, but it was my friend Cornbread.
You know,
He,
did Cornbread throw the shoe?
No, I interviewed
Okay.
that guy.
Yeah,
The
Scott, you
Scott
had him
guy.
on the show.
He's
Yeah.
here. Yeah, it was awesome. I forgot his name. It's hard to fucking pronounce and memorize. But no, so my friend Cornbread.
Forgive Scott. He's not good at remembering Muslims' names.
What?
Sometimes,
like-
you know.
Scott, if you can get the kid that Clint just had on, what's his name? Lord
Lord
Miles.
Oh, Lord Miles,
That
that was in
would be a
Afghanistan.
fucking-
Yeah.
Tremendous
Oh, I don't know.
interview.
I
He's
don't
the
know.
British
It would
kid
be
that went to
funny, but
Afghanistan.
I'm
Got
Wait, I'm
stuck
gonna tell
there.
Cornbread's story.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
go
Cornbread.
ahead.
Yeah.
There
Tell
you
the
go.
Cornbread story.
So my friend Cornbread shines shoes, and usually he's at the Austin Club, but he had a gig at the Capitol building for a while. And this was when Bush was still the governor, but he's running for president. But he's got Texas Rangers for security, essentially. And they're at the Capitol building in Austin, and there's, I guess, nobody else around in the hallway or whatever. And they just like walk up on him. And so W. Bush puts his hand out to shake his hand, and Cornbread goes, bam, and slaps his hand like as hard as he can. You know, when your like older cousin slaps your hand as hard as he can. And if you're a skateboarder, that slap on concrete. So what's W. Bush gonna do, right? All he can do is kind of like rub his hand on his leg and play it off like it didn't hurt. Because he can't like cry and say, like, arrest this man or whatever, because it was just a hand slap. This is the closest thing you could get to assaulting, you know,
The
a
president.
governor and get
Sorry,
away with
governor.
it.
Yeah,
Especially a
Cornbread.
Bush.
Well,
It
this
was
is
like
Get away
his
with it.
own 9/11.
This is so funny because
Yeah,
I have a story similar to that. If you guys can believe it, I used to work at a skilled nursing facility in Southeast Portland. I was the maintenance director, and I used to walk next door to this cafe and every morning and get a bagel and coffee every day, right? And one day I was there, and they like shut down the whole road, and all of a sudden a presidential motorcade came in, and Obama walks into this place, right? And he's coming in there to talk to veterans, like because there was all these old veterans that used to hang out there, and I was like already not a Obama fan, obviously. And I got up to walk out because I was like, I don't want to be in here. There's like Secret Service agents and shit. And he put his hand out like while I was walking by to shake my hand, and I just walked past. No, I just walked right past him and walked out of the cafe, and I went back to work. It was like it was like 9 o'clock in the morning or something, 8:30 in the morning, and I walked right past our president. His hand was out to shake mine, and I totally ghosted him. It was pretty fucking funny.
He still thinks about that.
Yeah.
You got him.
I didn't slap his hand. But I did walk right past his handshake. So it was kind of funny.
I think if you slap the hand of the current president, you get bullets put in you. So
I tell my kids the story, and they're like, you really did that? You really walked by the handshake of a president? Yeah.
If you slapped Joe Biden's hand, they would convict you and be like, you credibly tried to kill him. You probably couldn't take that. And you'd be like,
can you slap the hand of a hologram though?
Oh wow, yeah, that's actually true. That's not a conspiracy theory, guys.
That's fact.
You slap his hand. He's like, Corn Pop, why'd you do that? Could someone give me some ice cream? You know what I mean? Like that guy's so. It'd be like it's literally like.
Come on, man.
It's like geriatric abuse, dude. Really, if you slap his hand. To be honest with you, at this point, I feel bad for the guy. I think he's just being paraded around in front of us. Like it's really elder abuse. Really, it is.
No sympathy. No sympathy.
I've been calling it for months and months and months. The guy's sundowning, dude. They're giving him ice cream because he's fucking sundowning. Like that's
dude, they schlep him back to Delaware all the time. Shuts this little state down. Dude.
I just don't get it.
Amazing.
The guy's got Alzheimer's. Yeah. It's very clear to anybody who's ever worked around like a memory care unit that our president has Alzheimer's. It's very clear.
Just how I said earlier about being thankful for things. I'm thankful that the police are terrible at their job because it points out how terrible the monopoly of violence is for the state. Same thing with Joe Biden. I love his presidency because it has never demonstrated more clearly how fucking crazy figurehead. It's an obvious figurehead position. Everyone fucking knows it now. Right. And it shows that we don't need these motherfuckers. So I think it's progress.
Right.
Well, I do think that in many ways, Biden being president is better than Trump being president. And I get a lot of shit when I say that, but I would take the particularly after the first 4 years of Donald Trump, I at least appreciate that the right wing, who was to a large degree red-pilled, which is really, if you're my age, it's pretty amazing. Red-pilled on the CIA and the FBI and the police and the whole system, and realizing that it's like not, what they always wanted to pretend it was. I'd rather the right wing feel like, instead of feeling like our guys in there doing the good work, which was all kind of ridiculous. I mean, Donald Trump was presiding over 1 million bureaucrats who hate his guts just in the executive branch, let alone the legislative branch and the Supreme Court and the state governments and all that, and the corporate press and the universities and stuff. So I'd rather that for the right wing. And for the left wing, I'd certainly rather Joe Biden than say like Barack Obama or something like that, where they feel like there's this guy who just convinces them that everything's so great. And,
he's like a doorstop. He's just keeping the door open.
Well, but what exactly, like from my perspective, I'm not like some fucking Republican or Trump, supporter. Like what was to benefit for me of Donald Trump being in there? Even when people say like, well, at least like the domestic war on terrorism wouldn't be turned inward if Donald Trump was reelected. Like, really? Do we know that?
And we didn't get any benefit from the left being out of power during Trump. I mean, when the left was out of power during W. Bush, they were anti-war and rallying around Cindy Sheehan. When Trump was in there, they were rallying around the state to help protect us all from president.
And that's what helps Fauci grow. That's what helps Fauci blow up, because they were looking for like the antithesis of Trump.
And think about it, right? Like if Donald Trump was in there, I think it's quite possible that the COVID insanity has more of a chance of receding with Joe Biden as president than it would have with Trump. I mean, all of the bad results from all of the government policies now, you at least go like, they're losing steam and being like, yeah, but none of these vax passports or mandates or any of this shit works. And we can look at all this evidence.
Disney just ended
Trump
the vax
mandate. Yeah. And OSHA has been, I mean, it was a court order, I guess, but they've been pushed back on their mandate.
No, but OSHA decided to stop doing it too. They just said,
something you said that haunts me like constantly. during that election cycle when Trump versus Biden, you said Trump is going to take this in a landslide, barring an economic collapse or something crazier. And we just happen to get the craziest shit ever. And every so often, I think about you constantly saying that. And
well,
it just seems,
when I'll tell you, I did. If you remember, my prediction was that Donald Trump was going to win, but I did caveat that pretty hard once I found out about the mail-in ballots and how that was all going to go, and not even saying like, oh, they stole it from him or some shit like that. I go, that just changes the way voting is done.
Right.
That changes the dynamic. When anyone can just vote from home, that's a different fucking thing than what voting has been traditionally, and that heavily favors Democrats.
Right.
And if lawyers have to get involved, that heavily favors Democrats, the party of lawyers. So all of that shit, like there was a lot more to it, but I just think that it's a lot of times people, it's a very simplistic way to think about things, but you go like, well, things would obviously be better if the guy who's like more on my side, not that I'm saying Trump was more on my side, but more on my side was the president. That's not always true. Like if the whole system is designed that the guy up there is gonna fail and can't get things done, oftentimes strategically you're better off having the guy who's opposing you in there and failing. And I always err on the side, if I prefer who's going to be president, I always err on the side who's more transparently full of shit and more unable to rally a massive, like a big group of people. That to me is the most important thing. I always go like, who could sell the next war? Who could sell the next war to their base? Biden or Trump?
War.
Trump could sell.
Yeah, Trump
could sell
Trump,
a policy no matter what it was to his base.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Biden can't, and to me, that's the most important thing of anything.
Dave,
who could sell the next evil policy and have their base go, sir, yes, sir, we will follow you into this evilness, and that's Clinton, Obama, not Hillary, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, even George W. Bush. It turned out after 9/11, but that's and Trump. But that's not Biden, and definitely not Kamala Harris.
You made the point about Trump. Sorry. You made the point about Trump being like an imbecile and people saying, well, I'm not sending my kids to overseas to die for this asshole. So that's, I don't know, that's kind of
yes, but you know, that was before I realized Biden was a possibility. So
Right.
Trump seems pretty slick compared to
before
Biden.
Dave has to go. There were two specific super chats that were aimed at him. Ofer Naves gave a $5 super chat. He said, Dave Smith, Nerdrotic, just said he wants you on his show. Chrissi can tell you about him. So that was
it's
one.
a nice show. You gotta do it.
$5 super chat. I don't know anything about Nerdrotic, but I'll check it out.
Well, for $5,
you know,
for $5 to Josh, I'll be there.
You know, Dave. Also, my buddy Matthew Hawley said you should pay more attention to Bitcoin.
Jesus Christ.
To Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. Check out Sphinx Chat. Adam Curry loves it. Seriously, plenty of great people like Matt Odell and Marty Bent and Safety and Mises Institute. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin.
I appreciate that, and I'll tell you, no one has ever told me to pay more attention to Bitcoin. So
dude, it's constant. It's a constant thing.
I do, but look, man, I am kind of convinced that I think Bitcoin has like enormous potential, and I certainly think more than any of the other cryptocurrencies, it has like enormous potential to actually be currency, like real money someday. But I also think that to me, what's standing in the way really of like Bitcoin doing that is just more people believing that could actually be currency. And not just, as an investment or something like that, but the idea that more people are really convinced of like, let's start trading in Bitcoin. And I think the thing that convinces more people of that is to understand how important it is to like undermine government currency and why they actually want to do that. Yeah, short of a situation where you're under like truly draconian government measures where it's like, well, this is the only way I can get aid into you or something like that, which are the examples really now of where Bitcoin is acting like money. So I just don't think my only disagreement with the Bitcoin maximalists is like, I think it's like, I think the role of like waking people up to the evils of the Federal Reserve and the military industrial complex and all that, I think the shit goes hand in hand. I don't think it's like, oh, you shouldn't be talking about that, you should just be talking about Bitcoin. I think it's like, no, I think it's real important to talk about that too. And then, you know, I'm learning more and more about Bitcoin. I actually own some now.
Oh shit.
And yeah, I mean,
Endorsed.
not that much because it's expensive as shit.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, I own almost one.
Dude, you're doing great. You're doing better than most people, buddy.
But like, well, I've put a decent amount of money into it, but I mean, I relatively speaking, I guess. But I just think it's kind of like, you know, I'm with them and I'll do more episode. I like Guy a lot. I think he's fucking he fucking really sold me on it. And so you know, anyway. But yeah, I'm pro Bitcoin. I like you guys. So stop hating on me.
Well, here's the thing. I'll tell you because
Guys.
these same guys, hold on, before you go, these same guys hit me up all the time. Why don't you have more Bitcoin maximalists on? Why don't you? I'll tell you why. Do you want to know why? Because I've reached out to every like bigger platformed Bitcoin maximalist that I can, and they have all fucking big timed me. That's why. So if you could get them in touch with me, let me know.
I
had guys on last week.
Quick. You can buy you will be able to buy Toplobsta merch with Bitcoin and different other kinds of cryptos. Another thing, I know we were talking shit about the QAnon people because they're real retarded, but they are actually pretty based on some sound money there. I mean, they're talking about gold. From what I've heard, they're talking about Bitcoin. They understand the Federal Reserve, so there's something there.
I view QAnon.
Listen, hey guys, I gotta fucking run. I love all you guys. All right, be
all
good.
right, Dave.
Have
thanks, buddy.
Night.
Love you,
brother.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a good one.
Great time with your family. I just wanted to say real quick, I view QAnon the same way I do in like a hierarchy of red pill. Same thing with loose change. I don't see that as a negative. Like I was originally convinced by loose change, and I was way too red pill to the point that I was living in fucking La La Land. And then I came back to the Ron Paul movement, and I started to, you know, evaluate things with more of a critical mind. And I think I still do that to this day. So I hope that the QAnon movement a decade from now are in my shoes, and we can really start to keep this thing moving.
Yeah, you never know what's going to get people. I was talking with Keith Knight the other day. He goes, look, I used to be an Obama bot. Here's a picture of me with my family celebrating Obama's victory in 08. And now
there you go.
There's not a better libertarian in the world than this guy right now. You know? So come on.
Chrissy, were you an Obama supporter?
Ugh, yes, I voted for him the first time, and then the second time I didn't vote at all because I didn't want to miss yoga.
New York woman. I figured it was part of it. I
was like, he's fine. He's got it.
Yeah. He's very eloquent. He's a very good speaker.
He is what my grandmother would call black but nice. Yeah.
Fucking
That's basically what Biden said about it.
Chrissy, go on Tower Power Hour.
Yeah, that's how we describe Clint. Black but nice.
Oh my god, Jesus. Scott, you were never an Obama guy.
No, no, I wasn't. I hate Democrats. No, I was reminiscing the other day with Sheldon Richman about the first time I met Sheldon was at the Future Freedom Foundation conference in 2008, and was it like the early summer of 08, and I went up to the after party thing in the hotel room upstairs, and I walk up and there's Glenn Greenwald arguing with Justin Raimondo.
Oh Jesus.
Wow.
And this was the I guess 3-week period where Justin was in love with Obama. And he wrote like 2 or 3 incredibly cringy, horrible gay articles about how
that's unfortunate.
Obama was. And this was right during that period. And so I walk up and Justin is going, oh, no, I really like him. Oh, he gave this great anti-war speech where he said all this great stuff I like. And then Greenwald is going, I don't know, Justin. I think we'll have to wait and see. And then I said, are you fucking kidding me? I can't believe what I'm hearing here. He's a fucking Democrat. A Democrat. He's Bill Clinton. He's going to be killing people from his first day in office and never stop. And you both know it. And I don't want to hear this shit. So,
and it's true.
I bet you're so fun at parties, Scott.
I have somewhere a show I did in January of 07 on Chaos Radio in Austin when I was still doing pirate radio. And it's from January 07, and it's the first time I ever talked about Obama on the radio. And I'm telling my co-host, Shauna Lynch, that So I was watching TV, and CNN, they introduced this new guy to me. Like, he's a rock star. I'm supposed to love him. His name's Barack Obama, and he's the biggest deal in the whole world since New Coke or whatever it is. And just talked about how obviously horrible he was and how transparent it was that this was all being cooked up from the very top and all of that, which of course is true. There was actually a great article that came out shortly after his first victory in 08. It might have been right after he was kind of inaugurated in the spring of 09. And I'm pretty sure it was Time magazine. Could have been Newsweek, but I'm pretty sure it was Time, where they talked about how he gave a speech at John Kerry's nomination Democratic conference in 04, which I had missed because I didn't watch that shit. Anyway, he gave a speech there and everybody was really impressed. And that some of the very most powerful leaders of the Democratic Party came to him and said, "You ever thought about running for president, young man?" And the thing was then that there was like half the party hated the Clintons and wanted rid of the Clintons and wanted to end their control of the party, and said, because they saw her as a sure loser, which she was, of course. And so they said, man, we need to come up with somebody better. Here's somebody better. But so in other words, this wasn't like Dennis Kucinich or something where he's like a real human being and he's being promoted and supported by regular people out in the country. This was essentially like the babies and incubators thing, right? This is just cooked up by New York fucking PR firms. This is what the people want. They want something different and they want change and a different flavor from W. Bush. So we'll give them this. And you know, it was just, and which was transparent all along. By the way, if you go back to the primaries of 08, in the debates, it would be Hillary and Obama and John Edwards over here, and Kucinich and Gravel over here. And it was like, yeah, these are the three lizard people who work for Citigroup, and these are the two human beings who can't stand this shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was as simple as that. It was as obvious as that he was nothing but Hillary in blackface. That's all he ever was.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, really, that people felt that. It really bothers me, too, because especially if you look at the irony of 08, where, you know, Ron Paul's running against not the Democrats. He's running against W. Bush. But W. Bush is still in the chair. And Ron is saying, this is terrible. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be doing any of this, which Republicans just absolutely don't want to hear at that time. But he's essentially stands for the exact opposite of everything Bush stands for, as sort of a rhino liberal Republican and war hawk, and, you know, big business guy this whole time. And so here you have Ron Paul, who on the surface, and I'm sorry, I've said this before, it's not an original thought or anything, but on the surface, Ron Paul is a clone of W. Bush, right? German stock. I think I got this wrong. I said he was a Methodist, but he's actually a Baptist. I think W. Bush is a Methodist, but close enough. For, you know, Texas Methodists and Baptists are not very far apart at all. They're both married to their first wife with no scandals along those lines at all. Both, you know, family guys and white Republican conservatives from Texas.
I'm picturing a lot of missionary sex. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably, I'm sure, for
like,
or maybe just a little bit, you know,
where
what I
the
mean?
woman never comes, and that's just
right,
fine.
yeah, exactly. Like Laura Bush is a great leg,
it's okay.
you know.
I'm tired anyway.
Women aren't supposed to come. I mean,
yeah, seriously. But then but Ron on the substance is 100% opposite of Bush. He wants to get rid of the Patriot Act and close Guantanamo and prosecute torturers and abolish the Federal Reserve and end the drug war and fire all the federal cops and all of the laundry list of wonderfulness, but seeming as a human being, seeming to be essentially like a clone of W. A little bit older, maybe W's a clone of him, but to the average guy who doesn't know about, you know, Bush family, blue blood, you know, royalty traditions and whatever the hell, on the surface, these guys were the same. And then Barack Obama, who's the exact same as Bush on everything, is a tall, handsome black Democrat from Illinois. And so if you're just a regular Joe out there, which one of these two men is the opposite of W. Bush? If you want to tell the world, sorry about that, especially sorry for reelecting him, and we're really trying to do better now, which one do you choose? Well, if you fucking really understand, Ron is the one. But if you're just the average American, I mean, look at what they were up against in terms of the image and the public relations on TV. He's the opposite party, the opposite race, and, you know, the opposite part of the country and the opposite everything. And so even though he was going to come in and just put the Center for a New American Security in charge of his international policy and all of that, for regular people, they couldn't see through it. And then meanwhile, and that was the real irony of it, was there stood Ron fucking Paul, dude. Like, not just good on this stuff, but the best one of us ever, the best parliamentarian in world history, bar none. And he's standing there and he's knocking them down. He's got everything right, but he's just wrong guy, wrong place, wrong time to really fucking
Ron time.
Push it through.
It's
that's
wrong time.
That's why I'm sympathetic to like a lot of the post-libertarian guys, because they do flirt with this Machiavellianism that you're. I mean, if they had a little bit of deception going into this, where we could kind of disguise Ron Paul as something other than, maybe this works out differently. Because obviously Obama is disguised as something other than.
Look, that's just wrong, and that's what. Listen, this is what was Rand Paul's major flaw. Okay, Ron and Rand spent 30 years driving around, giving speeches about gold to rooms full of 4 and 5 people.
Obviously, Obama.
With Rand saying, "Geez, Dad, if you would shut up about gold and war all the time, and maybe just be a deficit hawk, then maybe you get some power and traction like Dick Armey and get somewhere in the world." And Ron always said, nope, because gold and peace is what I'm all about, son. That's the whole point. I'm going to stick with it. And yes, of course it was true that Rand was right, that what was marginalizing Ron and keeping him from having power and influence was he was too damn good on these marginal issues, gold and peace. You're not going to win over the Republican Party talking like that. And Rand Paul was right about that for 30 years until one day. And then one day, Ron Paul got a chance to fist fight Rudy Giuliani in front of everybody and beat his goddamn ass down. And, Dave, our fucking next champion, that was the moment for him, was the Rudy Giuliani, Ron Paul moment. And what happened was, and again, think about the context. It wasn't just, they had a fight. What were they fighting about? Ron Paul was essentially blaming the September 11th attack on Bill Clinton's foreign policy. And he wasn't coming out for saying that the government had done it. He was saying the government had provoked the crisis and then had failed to protect us, which is a bitter goddamn pill to swallow. And he's saying that in a Republican Party presidential event. And he's got the mayor of 9/11 up there to say, how dare you say this? And what happened? People loved it. People loved it. And Ron Paul woke up and changed the hearts of tens of millions of people by telling the plain, honest truth. And what was it about it? It was that regular people could see, hey, this old man respects me enough to tell me the truth. That's not the kind of thing I wanted to hear. That's the kind of thing I needed to hear. And then Ron Paul went from one guy in every neighborhood in America to 25 guys in every neighborhood in America, right? From 0 to 5 miles an hour to 200 miles an hour in the space of a year. And if you're telling me that there's a way that he could have been, deceptive and manipulative and told people what they wanted to hear enough and pandered to the right people in the right way enough to do better and win, I point to 2016. In fact, not just 2016, but Rand Paul's entire career leading up to 2016, where he didn't learn the lesson that, it seemed like he was right all those years, but it turned out, no, his father was right. End the Fed, end the wars. That is the winning message. It's just he needed the exposure. He needed the opportunity to get the spotlight on that. And Rand, even after the Giuliani moment, he didn't get it. So then what has he spent the last 10 years doing? Is trying to pander to everybody. Oh, black people, here, I'm for criminal justice reform. Do you like me now? Oh, golfers, I'm for your tax cut. Do you like me now? Oh, whoever it is. And he goes around, saying what he thinks people want to hear. And what does everybody think about him? Oh, here comes that guy who tries to always say what he thinks we want to hear. And nobody respects him at all. And his deception and manipulation and whatever, it doesn't work. And when he ran in 2016, where was the Ron Paul revolution?
But
wanted nothing to do with him.
What was the greatest moment of Rand Paul's political career, though? When he stood against the COVID lockdown tyranny system, when he called Fauci on his bullshit, and it was unpopular, and he was dragged through the mud by media for 24/7 for weeks. But that was the moment when he breathe
and then he
new
comes
life
out on
back into
top,
his
right?
political
And then
career.
he's proven in the end that he was right after all, just like
And
with
he
Ron.
proved
This is just
Ron
like what
Scott,
Dave was
yeah.
saying earlier.
Again.
Yeah,
You're
who
100%
wants-
right. I was talking to Mike Heist today, and he said the same thing. Like most of these conservative voters, they look at Rand Paul and they see him as just another Trump lackey. They don't understand his past. They don't understand his lineage, that he knows about Austrian economics, and he knows he's read Mises, because it doesn't show. So yeah, you're 100% correct.
Yeah,
and
man,
I'm
and
glad
look-
you're saying it here,
and,
man.
And Dick Armey is a great example of this, because Dick Armey is the kind of guy who he really was smart. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He was a right-wing Texas Republican congressman and a friend of Ron's, at least for a while, a colleague of Ron's, and they came, I guess, back to power, I forgot. I think maybe Dick Armey was there. Ron had been in Congress and left and come back in 97, was reelected in 96. But anyway, he told the story. In fact, it was at that same FFF conference in 2008 where Justin and Glenn were arguing about Obama. Ron Paul's speech at that conference, he told a story about Dick Armey coming up to him and saying, "Hey, Ron, guess what? I got this great job." He saw him on Capitol Hill. "I got this great job as a lobbyist now, and I'm making all this money." And Ron was just like, "Damn, dude, that's the saddest thing I've heard in my life." Are you kidding me, Dick? And that's what it is now? He sold your soul for some money? Money? Really?
Did he get power and influence too? Because then it might be worth it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did.
I'm just kidding.
Dick Armey did have some.
No, man. I mean, lead with integrity. Lead with the truth. That's why the Mises Caucus is the way. That's why Ron Paul is the way. That's why Dave Smith is the way. And that's why being a libertarian in the GOP probably isn't the way, because you're lying to yourself.
I disagree with that. Look, I think it takes all of these things. I spent the last year going around talking to state legislatures with the Bring Our Troops Home movement, working in alliance with Young Americans for Liberty. And on the state legislature level, you got, these Republicans, man, they don't really know. If you tell them that, look, man, this is what we're about now, they'll go for it some of the time. You're right. I believe in full spectrum dominance, like the Pentagon says. We should have the libertarians should be the loudest voice in the Democratic Party too. They're like, hey, isn't this the party of civil liberties and against the FBI and against the CIA and against the wars? We got to have those voices should be the loudest in the Democratic Party, and anti-Fed and anti-IRS and anti-war too, and anti all these things should be anti-gun control, and all these things should be the loudest voices on the right. But the libertarians, some of us got to hold the line that this is what we're all trying to pull people towards, is this plumb line real shit. And it's where the truth ought to lead you. You know what I mean? For example, if you're a right winger and you really understand about capitalism and you want to protect capitalism from the boom and bust and all these things, you want to protect business from the depredations of the IRS. How the fuck are you supposed to have a capitalist economy when you get in trouble for earning money? You have to pay a higher and higher fine the more money you earn. That's insane. Who came up with that shit? But man, you can't get rid of that if you have a world empire. You're going to have to choose, Mr. Right Winger. You know what I mean? But it takes libertarians to set them all straight. So that's why I think it's important for Dave to run for president as a libertarian. It's important for libertarians to run for local offices all over and that kind of thing. But that's also, why it's important to support Young Americans for Liberty and the Free State Project and all those things who are doing their best to influence the Republican Party to make it the least worst version of itself that we can possibly make it. Because look, at the end of the day, we're still a very small minority of people in this country. If we're going to have our way at all, we have to demand total liberty, and we have to have a influence. We have to explain our message in a way, as Ron Paul did, that does appeal to people all over. And in fact, see, I should have wrapped that Ron Paul thing up better. When he ran in 08 and 12, there were leftists who were coming to see him. There were young black kids that were coming to see him. There was, it was a wide open thing. And he was so good on everything that there was something for everyone. And then I missed. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Dave used to be black.
Dave used to be black.
Oh yeah. Well,
until I was introduced to Ron Paul.
He didn't vote for Joe Biden, so now that's
right.
How he
That's great.
But yeah, so Rand tried to pander and it didn't work. But Ron was just so damn good, he appealed to everybody. So But so like for those people who are trying to say like, no, we ought to be joining the Republican Party now, I agree with everything except the no. I think that absolutely, some people should be doing that. They absolutely should be doing that.
I think it's weird though. Don't you think it's weird that some people who are in this space are looking at what's happening in the Mises Caucus just in a couple years, 3-4 years, and go, I don't know, guys. Like, I don't know. It's not lost on me.
Well, maybe they don't see the opportunity that I see there. But I really do believe that with all of our help, really pushing as hard as we can, I think that Dave and the Libertarian candidate, as the Libertarian Party candidate in the next presidential election, I think that his message can be made to dominate the entire political conversation in this country.
So
it doesn't really
right now, man. Dan was just saying, he talked to Mike Heist today. I talked to Mike Heist today. I wouldn't be surprised if anybody else here might have talked to Mike Heist.
I also talked to Mike Heist today.
Right. I'm just saying.
I talked to him like 3 days ago.
Mike sent me a dick pic earlier today.
Yeah, so I mean, the infrastructure, if you will, is being laid out, and that guy's a big part of it. And I see it happening. I'm watching in real time. It's beautiful. So,
quick additional point. Also, just because Dave's running on the Libertarian ticket doesn't mean that we can't still achieve that shorter term power if you do have a high time preference and you believe in the GOP is the only one that has a chance of actually getting elected. If Dave is a meaningful threat, we can actually dictate who they push to be the primary candidate that ends up being, the actual candidate for the GOP. So I think that there's merit to this path that even helps on the post-libertarian argument side. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, Clint.
That's the part that baffles me. It's the animus toward the Mises Caucus or the Libertarian Party. It's like
it's a mistake.
You guys are kind of
that's just to draw attention.
Because the LP sucks, but it's like we know the LP sucks.
Riding Michael Heiss's and Dave Smith's coattails and saying pay attention to us by trying to pick a fight with these guys who already have this.
To some extent, it certainly is.
We got a super chat.
It's not necessary.
We got a super chat for Clint from Libertarian Podcast Review, $5. What's Clint's go-to hat to wear during intimate situations?
Ashton's in the chat. She can respond.
Ashton, what hat does he wear? Which one?
I actually I go hatless, believe it or not. Yeah.
Ashton keeps talking about hot dogs. What the fuck is she talking about? I'm like,
we know what she's talking about.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Y'all have an extra chat window that I don't have over here.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube.
Oh, she said she said she made Dave Smith a hot dog when she was living at 10 Pools.
Is this like a Pizzagate reference? What the fuck is this? I'm confused.
$50,000 hot dogs.
He literally made him
hot dogs.
Jesus, those are some expensive hot dogs, man. They better come with a cabinet from whatever that Wayfarer magazine is.
Oh God. The implication that it has to be one or the other, and one of us has to die, the GOP libertarians or the post-libertarians or the Mises Caucus, is kind of bizarre because I feel like like Scott is saying, there's room for both, and you probably should be attacking this thing at every angle possible.
That's what I'm saying. Elevate your bros. Though Bishop, elevate your bros out there. Don't tell people to come over to the Republican Party because we're doing
Let's
something.
be honest.
That's all.
You're not going to get every libertarian. You can't get every libertarian to do anything. So what are you even talking about? Let us do what we're most passionate about and do it as best as we possibly can, and then see who the best man is. Like, stop with the fucking division. Just everybody go.
Yep, totally. And look, I mean, if it was up to me, I'd make everybody work on Yemen. But that's not going to happen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit around. I'm going to try to boss y'all around and try to like, come on, guys, Thursday's Yemen Day. Or no, I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to do my thing, and I'll tweet out that today we're calling our congressman if I can, but I'm not going to tag everyone in it and try
Scott, you need to have a Yemen brunch and like unlimited mimosas.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm there. I am
drunk early on a Sunday morning and tell you about some genocide. But no, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? You can't herd cats anyway. So don't try herding them. Just, make sure that, I mean, if they could use some sound advice about what they're doing, how they could do it better, then great. But yeah, I don't see why anybody needs to tear anybody down. And I am all for libertarians joining I don't think that the libertarians should be the Mises Caucus inside the Republican Party, though. That doesn't really make sense. You just want to like show up and say, I'm a Republican. And we believe in hard money and peace, right? Or, whatever the message is, and just why different. That's the whole point of running as a Republican, right? Is you don't want to differentiate yourself. You want to, insinuate yourself into there.
Ingratiate.
And and then say, yeah, this is the consensus. This is what we all believe. This is why we're Republicans, right? And then say all your great libertarian shit is what it should be.
And when Rand Paul or Thomas Massey or any of the decent Republicans are on TV, watch them, make these guys bigger figures and contribute to their campaigns for re-election. Like, there's nothing wrong with supporting those guys that are really good GOP members too. But then when you're not in an election year, fucking push and pull and make it seem as if Dave Smith's a legitimate threat for GOP power, so that they have to put in someone that we would respect moving forward. And then we might actually have some, we can bat or we can fight above our weight class, so to speak.
Well, that's happening in New Hampshire, right? They're saying that from what Jeremy Kaufman is saying, even their Democrats are kind of based. Like, they have actually good Democrats.
They had a Democrat named Joseph Stalkop a couple cycles ago in the legislature there, who flipped to Libertarian from Democrat while he was a state legislator.
Awesome.
They also had
I had a guy
too.
I saw a guy give a speech. I don't know the guy's name, nothing personal if you're watching, but there was a libertarian who ran against Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke for Senate back in 18.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
he was on the show.
Oh, okay. Well, so
Dan.
I wouldn't recognize the name if I heard it.
No,
but,
you're talking about Dan Bierman. No, he ran for president. That wasn't who ran for U.S. Senate then.
Yeah.
I'll remember his name, but you go ahead.
But so the guy gave a speech, and I'm not knocking the guy, but I'm just saying, like, this is kind of, Libertarian Party thinking previously, I guess, was like, look, guys, there's a new poll out, says
Neil Dykman.
I'm polling within the margin of error. And that means that no matter who wins, I'll get to claim credit for it. And then that means that from now on, the Republicans and the Democrats will have to suck up to us and run really, really good candidates so that we don't do that again. And I'm thinking, on one hand, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard somebody say in my life. But on the other hand, he's close. He's only like a step. He's like adjacent to a smart strategy, but totally missing the point. Where what he could have done was ignored Beto O'Rourke and gone full nuclear barbecue against Ted Cruz and say Ted Cruz is a big government Republican. He's a rhino. He pretends to be a conservative, but he's no different than W. Bush. And he's violated his oath to the Constitution over and over again. And he votes for these big spending bills, and he votes for all of these loser wars and all of this stuff, right? And then go nuclear against Cruz. And then if he loses, take credit for that. And then maybe you have a point where you see what happens, Republicans, when you piss us off. We'll ruin you. And sorry, Texans and the world, for inflicting Beto O'Rourke on you. But that's what the Republican Party of Texas had coming. And so that's the way it is. And then at least we'd be in a position to really argue that the next time you run somebody for Senate, he better not be a big fake constitutionalist
Scott,
like Cruz. He better mean it.
We got a super chat.
Evil.
Hold on, Scott, we got a super chat from One's Compliment, $5 super chat. Thanks. He said, "Who's the better skater, you or Tim Pool?"
Well, on ramp, me. On flat ground, flippity flip tricks, I give full respect to the young man. So we skated his mini ramp, and look, I've been skating mini ramp for 35 years, so that's a long time. And I had a great time skating that mini ramp. He clearly was not that experienced on transition. He did have a great kickflip to backside pivot, which fuck yes. I'd never done one of those in my life, dude. I've done a shove it to backside pivot, I guess, but definitely never done a kickflip to backside pivot. And so he got one of those. And then on flat ground, he had a killer hard flip, and it was a funny thing, man. It was like a hang 10, only not a nose wheelie, but just hang 10, both, feet on the nose, and then some kind of weird flippity hard flip thing out of that he nailed and caught high in the air or something, like 3 or 4 times. Was really, that was cool.
Nice. Well, okay, look, we're getting up on 3 hours here. We've done really good tonight, but since in the spirit of Thanksgiving, starts for me in 2 hours. You guys on the East Coast got it in an hour, but I want to go around and just say what we're thankful for. I know that's gay and cringe, but we're going to do it anyway. Toplobsta, what are you thankful for this year, buddy?
This year, a lot to be thankful. I'm thankful for all of you guys. I've done work for all of you. Josh the most. Scott's been gracious. Clint has let me do work. I've done work for Chrissi. I've done caricatures of Dave, and all of you guys have been so supportive. Even in the beginning, Scott, you retweeted some of my designs, and that helped really take off for me. And in a way, it has changed my life. Yeah, you guys have no idea. I mean, I'm about to basically change my profession to just do this. Yes, I no shame, but I'm about to change my profession to do this full time designing, which is my passion. So I'm thankful for that. And Josh, thanks for the opportunity. That's what I'm thankful for.
Thank you. What about you, Dave
and
Casey?
Bitches and hoes. Thank you.
And the bitches and hoes. What about you, Dave? What are you thankful for, buddy?
I'm thankful for a lot, but I will tie it in, to our talks tonight. And this has been a cool year for me, man. And again, to bring it back to Heist and the caucus, but his tagline of taking human action is that's been real for me, man. Like this year I've started to do that, like to put myself into the party, get active, start this podcast, start to talk to people. In less than a year, like I'm on this call with Scott Horton, Dave Smith, Clint.
You forgot me.
Yeah, I know. I'm a huge fan.
He's like, excuse me, who are you?
I
forgot.
No, I mean, this is a big deal for me. So I know it's it's Wednesday for you, buddy, but this is huge, and that everybody should do that. You should just dive into something because you will be amazed at the shit that comes out of that. And that's what this year's.
You all don't even realize it.
Beautiful.
Listen, I have 7 kids and a full-time job. Yeah, I have 7. I have 7 children who live in my house.
7 kids with you?
Yeah, can you imagine? Well, 2. Listen, we adopted a couple of them. One of them is actually my granddaughter who lives here with my 17-year-old daughter and my granddaughter. And then 2 of them are stepkids, and one of them is 2 of them are my own kids. But this is the only time I get to hang out with
libertarian sperm.
Yeah, this is the only time I get to hang out with my friends. You know what I mean? This is all this show is for me. I get to hang out with all my friends for at least an hour every night. You know what I mean? But yeah, Dave, I get it, man. I'm super proud of the things you're doing, dude. Scott, what are you thankful for this year, buddy?
Man, well, I mean, I echo what you guys are saying about how great the movement's going. I think it's been a pretty big year for me. I've traveled all around the country and testified to state legislatures and a lot of Libertarian Party state conventions, and Pork Fest and the Tom Woods 2000 event and all of this stuff. And word's getting out there. There's, as Dave was saying earlier, people constantly coming up to him and saying, you changed my whole life and this kind of thing. I think there are a lot of people who are, the time is ripe for them to hear this kind of message. I get a lot of that kind of response too nowadays. I think it's the books, really. And then, I should say that, and I really do mean it. I think this the most important thing that happened this year is the end of the war in Afghanistan, which is, here a little bit later next month, Somalia will be America's longest war, but Afghanistan was up until a few months ago.
Yeah, I was about to say, Scott, what the fuck are you going to talk about now, dude? Afghanistan's over.
Yeah, well, we still got Syria and Iraq and Yemen and Somalia and all North Africa.
We're going to do a Yemen brunch.
The Cold Wars with Russia and China.
War on us.
Yeah. But no, that Afghan war was a motherfucker, man. And I'll tell you, like, I don't think anybody really knows, but certainly hundreds of thousands of people were killed in the whole fucking thing. And they knew better all along, and they did it anyway for, essentially selfish, side reasons that weren't even really based on Afghanistan at all, but just means to other ends and that kind of thing. And then unbelievably to me, like I still have trouble kind of understanding exactly how they did it. But there's, I guess, enough people in the government who understood how lost the war was and that just were not willing to commit to send another 50,000 guys back there. So they were willing to call the thing off. And so it wasn't just Trump. Like, Trump got Zalmay Khalilzad, who's an extremely important neoconservative guy, to go over and make the deal with the Taliban to agree to leave. And based on some blood oath, he got Khalilzad to actually do it, not just shine him on and drag it out and fuck him over, but he really signed the deal. And then, Biden, I know, because his son died not in Iraq War II, but of Iraq War II from brain cancer from the burn pits there. So that's his personal reason for being sick and tired of this Middle East war bullshit that, is, of course, a lot of it is his fault. But, and that's why, because he knows it's his fault.
Sure.
So then he followed through on that, and the Taliban rule the country now, and it sucks. And they're undergoing a massive Great Depression because they've just lost $1 zillion worth of aid money coming in every year and everything like that. So every bubble in that country has now popped, and it's going to be very hard for them. But at least they have independence, and at least this country is no longer directly responsible for their pains. So I'm fucking really grateful for that. And,
nice. Good job, Scott. Okay. Chrissi, what are you thankful for this year?
Real men such as yourselves, being able to do. I meant that as a compliment.
We know.
I think we should make masculinity toxic again.
Got to be hard in New York for you. Get it?
Yeah. And being able to do what I love, tour the country, by doing stand-up shows, my merch. Look at this. Make America great again.
There we go. What does it say?
It says make America.
Oh, look at that. It's got your name in it. That's clever. Did you have Toplobsta help you draw that or not?
No, this is not even my body yet.
Chrissi, I gotta say, I think it's pretty cool what you did, refusing to tour at these places that are requiring mandates. Yeah.
It felt awesome. Like at first we're like woohoo, and then you're like, oh shit, I really did that. Like I really put that out there, and I really can't perform anywhere in New York City. Like I really, And
you live there.
Oh. I live in Westchester, but I'm really happy I did, and it showed me like just how many comics and entertainers are total pussies. So it's important to do. Yeah,
that's huge.
Well, thank you for that. That was huge. And when I saw the news article about that, I was like,
fuck yeah. And then Jim Brewer.
Yeah, I was about to say you and Jim Brewer.
Yeah, that was cool.
Perfect. Unfortunately, there's some of my I won't name the comics here, but there's a couple comics that I really respected that I just not gonna be able to watch anymore, I don't think. But whatever. It's cool.
Ooh, tell me later.
Okay, I will. It's just Stanhope's one of them, man. He really upset me. So, and I've been a fan for a long
Why?
fucking
Because
time.
he got vaxxed?
No, because he was like talking shit to people who didn't want to bring their vax cards to come and see his shows or something. It was pretty ugly. So
yeah, I opened for him at a show where I was not vaccinated, and I was like, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I'm lucky enough that like putting that out there is not gonna keep me from like being able to live. You know what I mean? Like if performing is your whole income, and luckily like I have other jobs and other sources of income. So for me, it was worth it. Like the money that I'm losing is worth making the point. So
good.
Yeah.
Clint, what are you thankful for, man? You better say Florida.
I am thankful for more things than I can enumerate, so I'll go as fast as humanly possible. First off, I closed down my business and I started on this endeavor 18 months ago. And in those 18 months, I have converted my life into following something I'm truly passionate about. Whereas before I was just purely focused on wealth achievement and all these other goals, I am now, the fire within me burns as hot as it ever has.
That might be chlamydia, though.
Ashton?
Uh-oh. No, she's great.
Oh,
she's
right.
great.
Never mind. I love
That's
her.
another thing I'm thankful for is, this endeavor has led me to meet not just my heroes, Scott, Dave, a whole bunch of people that I can now Chrissi, that I can actually call. I can actually call my friends, which is just totally bizarre to me because 2 years ago I was watching them. They had no idea who I was. And it's just the world feels upside down to me. It led me to meeting my girlfriend. She's amazing. And I just think I couldn't be more hopeful. I couldn't be more optimistic about the future. And I owe that all to this community that I have cultivated in a very, very rapid fashion. So thank you guys all so much. Yeah, and I hope you guys all have an amazing Thanksgiving with your family, despite all of the vaccine arguments that you're inevitably going to get into. I think that it's try and remember that there are things that are bigger than politics, and hug your loved ones.
It's been a blast.
Like that dick.
It's been a blast coming up with you, Clint. Really. We come out at the same time, dude. Like you and I and Reed all kind of at the same time, and it's been fun, man. Watching the growth and the progress, dude, for sure.
Holding the hand, skipping down the yellow brick road like fucking Wizard of Oz.
Absolutely. Well, of course, I only started like 7 or 8 months ago. You guys were way. But that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. You had a head start, man. I'm just saying.
7 or 8 months ago. It's November, brother. You lying.
It was March. This show, March 3rd was my first show here. So whatever that is.
Oh, wow. All right. I take it back.
I did my first Break the Cycle episode March 3rd, and we've done this is 136 episodes tonight. So it's been a lot of fun. Wow. I'm extremely thankful.
Scott's like, that's
Scott's like, that's fucking rookie numbers, dude. He's like, I do 5 episodes a day, bitch. I'm proud of you guys, man. I just want to say I'm thankful to all the people who have stuck by the show since the beginning, a whole 7 months ago, and Toplobsta and Dave and Scott and Chrissi and Clint and Dave and everybody else that has been on my show and helped me bolster this project that I've been working on. I really appreciate you guys. You've been amazing to me, and I probably didn't deserve it, but I do appreciate y'all. That's pretty much all I got. You guys got anything else you want to add tonight?
I just want to say shout out to Tower Gang and all the brothers that couldn't be here.
Oh yeah,
you guys lift my spirits every day. We walk through an incredible, almost indefinite darkness, and you guys bring light to my life every day. So thank you.
I love the Tower Power Hour guys. That's where I cut my teeth too, man. I was like, I'm gonna do a podcast. Hey, Tower Power Hour guys, can you retweet all this shit? And they did. They're really good.
I'm glad. Really quick, I'm glad that I just went with Dave tonight, and then Dave Smith popped in. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I was like, you
good.
big time in Dave Smith.
Oh God, dude, you fucking share. Jesus Christ.
Toplobsta, where can people find you and support you and all that shit, buddy?
Toplobsta _ on Twitter, toplobsta.com. You could buy I don't know, the shirt you're wearing. I think Scott, you have one on too.
Yeah, I am. I'm wearing a
Ron Paul for Congress.
Congress 76 right now.
I have the same shirt.
Oh, look, all right there.
Clint's wearing one too.
You can get that on Clint's site. Yeah. So you can support me, Toplobsta with an A anywhere, and appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Josh.
Yeah,
this was awesome.
Of course, brother. I appreciate you. What about you, Dave Casey? Where can people find you and support you, listen to you, all that great stuff?
Yeah, Dave VS Goliath on Twitter, Instagram, Odyssey. I'm usually banned from Facebook, but I'm there too. And teespring.com, I got like wish.com Toplobsta stuff. So it's like it's a downgrade. But hit that up when you get
Oh yeah. Mr. Horton, where can people find you and support you, listen to you, all that great stuff?
Antiwar.com, libertarianinstitute.org, scotthorton.org, and I'm on the radio Sunday mornings on KPFK 90.7 FM in LA. And I'm on Twitter at Scott Horton Show and on YouTube at Scott Horton Show.
And the very hilarious, not Amy Schumer, Chrissi, where can people find you, support you, listen to you, all that great stuff?
Chrissi Mayr Pod on Instagram. I'm trying to hit 10,000 again after I got deleted. Chrissi Mayr Podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, 4 new episodes a week. Wet Spot on Compound Media, Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And I've got a bunch of dates coming up. I'm going to be in Morris Plains with Comedians of the Compound on December 11th. I'll be at Hartford December 12th. December 13th, I'll be at the Looney Bin Little Rock Comedy Club. And then December 15th and 16th, I'll be at Hyenas in Dallas with Anthony Cumia and Aaron Berg. And then I'm taping my first comedy album on January 6th. Yeah.
Nice.
Good day.
At Governor's in Levittown, Long Island. And yes, I picked that date on purpose.
I noticed you're staying the fuck out of the Midwest through December and January. That's okay.
Not on purpose.
It's cold. I know. It's fucking cold here. I get it.
I'm just disappointed that you're not doing any shows in New York. I mean, like, you live there. I don't even understand.
There's one fucking club in Brooklyn that I heard doesn't require papers, so maybe I'll get over there.
Okay, there you go.
It's a good club.
They're all gulag comedy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter at Liberty Lock Pod. I am 100 followers away from 25,000. Big milestone for me. So if you guys could help me out, I'd appreciate it.
That was a direct stab at me, Clint. I get it. I know.
Did not mean to be. Did not mean to be. I swear to God. I'm sorry. YouTube, Liberty Lockdown, LibertyLockdownPodcast.com if you want to get Toplobsta art like that. And Instagram, Liberty Lockdown. I don't know. Liberty Lockdown everywhere. Clint Russell, check me out.
Nice. And for those of you who don't know, I lost my Twitter. I lost my Twitter a couple weeks ago, but I just filed a claim with the San Francisco Better Business Bureau because I found out that that's a way they could force an actual human review, because when you do an appeal for a removed Twitter account, they don't do human reviews. It just like is a computer thing. So I got it on good authority from my buddy Mike. Told me that if you file a claim with the Better Business Bureau in San Francisco, it forces them to have to manually review it with a human. So hopefully, because all I did was say one word, I said death, and they removed my account for forever. Suspended it.
Yeah.
20,000 followers gone. I do have a
So
new one.
gay.
Yeah, I have a new one at Break Joshua if you guys want to go and hang out with me there. But I lost 20,000 followers, and now I'm at like 3,600. Sucks.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always about size, Josh.
Yeah, I know. That's what they tell me. They've been hearing that a lot my
That's
whole
what
life.
women that are liars tell you.
Oh.
Well, guys, I really, really appreciate you all coming on and hanging out for all these hours, and I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Oh yeah, all you guys too,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
All right, guys, another awesome episode of Break Cycle. That was a lot of fun. Please go follow all those great people. For those who weren't on the call at the end, you can find Chase Geyser at One American Podcast. He's got a great podcast. Of course, you can follow Dave Smith everywhere, and read Coverdale, of course, The Naturalist Capitalist on YouTube. And my good friend Dad Smots is at The System Is Down, or TSID Pod. You can hear all of his. You can hear his promo in all of my audio version stuff. Go check out Toplobsta, of course, .com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend and partner at Break the Cycle, where you can get all kinds of great stuff that you saw us wearing on the show tonight for a 10% discount by using BTC at checkout. Or you can join the Patreon, subscribe star, become a member of the YouTube channel under all of my videos by hitting the join link, where you can get into a private Discord server and get all of Toplobsta's new gear up to 2 weeks before it goes to the general public at like a 30% discount. Really great stuff. Guys, also, if you're still here, please hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. Help me boost that algorithm. It's good stuff. I'm back to where I am starting to book 5 shows a week again, Monday through Friday. So we'll have a lot more shows, a lot more content for you guys. If you become a member, you get all the exclusive content too. You can watch it live on the YouTube channel memberships, or get it uploaded at some point to the members only Patreon and Subscribe Star. Also, go check out the executive producers of the show, anthemplanning.com, for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out today, see what they can do for your business, home, or personal life. They're doing a wonderful job that the government has historically sucked at, much cheaper and much more efficiently. Guys, I'll be off tomorrow for Thanksgiving and Friday. Coming up next week, though, I do have some shows booked. I think Monday, let's see, where are we at? November still? Yeah, so Monday, I don't have that show booked yet. Tuesday, I'm going to have Citizen Hush on the show. And then Wednesday, Patrick Newman from the Mises Institute. It's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely come and hang out with us, guys. I appreciate you. Have a happy fucking Thanksgiving. Seriously, enjoy all the food. Get in your food coma. Enjoy it. I'll see you next week. Until then, don't forget to break the cycle.
Due to legal reasons, I just have to explain. The lyrics of my last song may seem to contain a violent call to action in the verse and refrain, but I just meant it in Minecraft. The helicopter part was in reference to GTA 5 and the things you do. So any violence you commit, I am not an excuse, because I just meant it in Minecraft. A chipper is my friend and he's constantly cold. Accusations of incitement getting totally old. Make your own choices, yeah, you have control, because I just meant it in Minecraft. Obviously I would never advocate force, unless there's due process and a trial, of course. And if you're convicted, we will make you a corpse. In Minecraft, just in Minecraft. You're nothing I mean, you know it. The product theaters cause it closed for COVID. Holy shit, I think I'm a poet. In Minecraft.